Hi, comic readers, and welcome to another episode of Off the Rack. I'm Sal.
And I'm Tiffany.
This is a comic book review show where we take comic books from the past week and we talk about them and review them and tell you what we thought about them. And then we select which one is the book of the week, our favorite or the greatest book this week that we read. And then we recommend comics that are coming out next week that we think you should check out. Or rather this week, because usually we're doing this at the beginning of the week and comics come out on Wednesdays. And soon, all comics come out on Wednesdays again because DC finally learned the error of their ways and is moving from Tuesdays back to Wednesdays sometime, I think, in the summer.
Yay!
Yay, indeed. There's so much to talk about. There's a lot of big news, a lot of big comics. But before we do, I should mention that this show here that you're watching right now is sponsored by viewers like you. If you're watching the show live, you can sponsor today's show by using Super Chats. Ask a question or comment, we'll read here on the show. And if you don't have a chance to, or you don't have the scratch to do that, no big deal. Just watch the show. Or if you want to do some extra clicking that helps us out, you can always click the subscribe button and the bell for notifications, and then check your notification setting to make sure that you know when we're going live. When we do go live, which is of course normally on this show is Mondays. Wednesdays is New Comic Book Day. Mondays around 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, around that range, so to speak. We did miss last week.
Yeah.
So we want to welcome you guys back to the show.
Hi. Sorry.
We did take
we went on vacation.
an impromptu vacation. We were thinking about doing it. We were sure it wasn't going to happen, and then it did happen, and so we went anyway.
Yeah,
and,
so there was no time to notify anyone because it was just like, and it's happening.
Yes. Yeah, and we left. And hopefully I kept a lot of you guys informed by posting on the community tab and, of course, on social media. And if you want to make sure you get updated, the best way to do so is to follow us, on Twitter, @TheRealZoobs, @SalSaysWhat, or just check the community tab here on this channel or on youtube.com/ComicPop. There's a lot going on. I know we don't even. I feel like this is going to be a massive episode because there's so much to talk about.
It can't be like 3 hours.
Yeah, no.
I gotta go to work.
I know, exactly. But I should say that two things as far as scheduling goes. The first one is, if you're going to C2E2 in Chicago this upcoming weekend, I'll be there. So hopefully you'll run into me. If you do, say hi, snap a selfie. I'm down. Friday, Saturday, and then I'm leaving on Sunday. Yeah, just of yourself, and let me know how it turned out. But we're going to be, I'm going to be at C2E2 with Benny the Comic Story, and we're going to be hanging out and going to the show and checking things out and buying stuff. Hopefully we'll see you there. No booth, no panel, just good old-fashioned boots on the ground at the con. So come on by and say hello if you're going to be in Chicago.
I've
never been to this con. I've never been to Chicago.
Yeah.
I had a layover in Chicago once. That was it.
Well, that doesn't count.
No, it doesn't.
Like, it technically does because you technically were there.
Yes, I was technically there. Like, I've technically been to Texas. I had a layover once there. That was it. So I'll be there Friday night. Well, Friday, I don't know when I'm arriving, actually. I think it's around midday Friday. So I'm hoping to hit the show.
Like the morning.
Yeah. Yeah, like 11 or 12, I think, is when I'm going to be arriving. So in any case, I'll be there Friday, but like probably until closing, and then Saturday full day. Saturday's the best day.
I think you get there at like 11.
Yeah.
Because of the time zone change.
Right. But it's not like the airport is in the convention center.
No, that's true.
So I'll be there. Then the next weekend, which is the weekend of Free Comic Book Day, on May 3rd, that's Friday, Joshua Williamson, the writer of the upcoming or current House of Brainiac event at Superman, and writer of Cobra Commander and Duke and Green Arrow, he is a co-host of mine. He's a member of this channel, basically. He's been doing this for over a year on this very channel, doing a show called All Stars, where the two of us just chat about comic books. Well, we've reached a year of doing that show, and I want to say it's probably one of the first shows, like a real podcast, where a current prolific comic book author slums it to talk to a mook like me. So I think that's worth celebrating. And so as a result, we're going to be doing a 4+ hour long live stream show on this channel, May 3rd, starting at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We invite you to come out and hang out with us. We're going to be there talking about comic books. We're going to be doing interviews with different creators that Josh and I are fans of / friends with, and so much more. I'm promised surprises, though. I'm only going to guarantee that Josh and I will be there.
And what day is it again?
That's going to be on Friday, May 3rd at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Woo! So come on by, check us out, hang out with us, spend the day. It's going to be at least 4 hours. So there will be a point where I leave the stream to make my own stream in another room, but I will be back shortly thereafter. So please, I'll have to pee is what I'm saying. It's a joke about going to the bathroom. It's the kind of highbrow entertainment you can come to expect here on this channel, and of course us. See, That's right. Well done.
Thanks.
That's why it's here. That's why it's handy. So check that out as well.
Using it. I just want you to know.
I know. You died a little inside.
I did.
So yeah, that's going to be great. Big, huge show. Hopefully we'll see you there. We would love to see you and, make it worth your while. So I'm sure there's going to be some like art and so at the very least a little bit of maybe an exclusive or two. So speaking of news, because we do talk about the news.
There's no comic book news.
No, there's none. No, certainly not. Those that came out like comic book writer Cody Ziegler, who essentially said that remember when Kamala Khan died in Amazing Spider-Man for seemingly no reason whatsoever, and everyone was like, that's really weird. It was a really weird thing you did, Marvel. Why would you do that? The rumor, and that's a rumor proliferated by this creator, said that Kevin Feige called and said, hey, really quick, could you go ahead and kill Kamala Khan and bring her back as a mutant because we're doing something over on the TV side that's going to make her into a mutant. Now,
okay.
That's
not really like jaw dropping.
No, it is. I mean, it is only in as much as it is the like you assume this kind of thing happens all the time. Everybody's talking about it. I always use this example, but I think it's like the most like obvious was they were making a Spider-Man movie one time, and in order to make it cleaner, they gave him organic webbing, and as a result, in the comic books, they arbitrarily had Peter Parker get mind whammied by the Queen, turned into a spider, and when he popped out of the dead spider's body, he had organic webbing. And they just left that on the table until eventually One More Day cleaned it up of all things. So yeah, that was a thing. And they were doing a synergistic kind of collaboration, though I am certain that no one at Sony called anyone at Marvel and said, hey, could you make the organics happen? Because it's going to be less confusing for readers. Because it's not like they were also like, oh, and by the way, could you also reset Spider-Man so that people understood what's going on, who were like literally coming here in droves at comic book stores after having seen the movie. Obviously, this kind of synergy never works. It never really hits. It never succeeds. But we've seen it happen. It's just that this is the first time that the head of the studio, or at least it's the first time it was admitted, that the head of the studio came to the comic book publisher and said, yo, can you make a change? Could you just fix this up for me?
Okay.
Now, Marvel did have a statement.
Oh, did they?
They did.
What is their statement?
The statement was attributed to no one, has no voice.
Marvel, the company.
Marvel, the company said, nah.
That's not what happened.
They didn't say that's not what happened. They said, nah, that was it. Just pretty much no.
Like, no, that didn't happen, or just?
Yeah, just no. Just to kind of like, not really. And it was like, oh, that's, are you sure? I mean, like, on one hand, there was a guy with a name who risked things and came out and said it. And on the other, we have a company that issued a really lame statement.
So I completely understand why this is something to talk about. And simultaneously, I'm kind of like, but I mean, she was an Inhuman, and I think that's why nobody cares.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Because it's like, yeah, okay. If he calls and asks about that, it doesn't really upset anything.
Yeah.
Other than like, I'm sure there are, I do wonder, honestly, if there are Kamala Khan fans who are like, no, she has to be an Inhuman because this, or if they're just like, I just like the character, as long as the character like personality doesn't change.
Yeah.
Who cares?
I would be
surprised.
surprised.
Least she's part of a grander universe then that like, characters who will interact with her and people know, and she'll be in things.
Yeah. I think that anyone who might care about that might make the argument that she was the only relevant Inhuman, and now you haven't taken that away from the Inhumans. Like, the Inhumans had Black Bolt and Medusa, and if you're not a fan of like regal fiction, you don't really have a lot of gateway characters. Like, they tried with Karnak, and that didn't work out. So here's Ms. Marvel. She's the only relatable Inhuman that exists outside of Crystal, and even then, she's still the daughter of the Inhuman royal family.
I don't agree with that type of worrying about storytelling, because then, like, okay, let's do that across the board.
Yeah.
Like with every team?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
So here's the actual quote.
Was Karnak the dog? I saw that in the chat.
No, that's Lockjaw.
I love that. I love that so much.
That's so great.
And that's not even like, I'm not even making fun of you. I just love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Like, yeah, I would name my dog Karnak.
Yeah. No, it's Lockjaw. Lockjaw's the dog. Karnak's the smart one. Anyway, here's the quote. It's from the Amazing Spider Talk podcast. Ziegler recounted a story from Zeb Wells, who of course was the writer who actually did pull the trigger, so to speak. Quote, Wells, this is paraphrasing because he didn't actually cite Wells' name, but he said he told me months before the plan, which was Feige was like, quote, "Hey, I don't do this very often, but can you please do this to make things in line with Marvel because we have some stuff we want to do with Kamala." Ziegler said. So Wells was like, I'm the guy that drew the short straw. People are going to be very mad that I have to kill Ms. Marvel. It's almost like Zeb Wells didn't get the memo that people were already mad at him for all the other things he was doing at Spider-Man. So I don't think anybody was really going to notice. I mean, people were mad, but I don't think anybody was like, damn it, and this is another thing that Zeb Wells did. I think they were just like, well, I mean, I already hate the book, and now this gross thing happened. But again, that's the vocal minority because, as I say in every week, Amazing Spider-Man is the #1 book of the week. So I don't want to hear it. It's like, I don't care what you say. The book sells. I don't know what's going on. I think it's because one of those automatic things. It's like, well, it's really hard to get a book to take a thing off my pre-order list, so I'm just going to leave it. I mean, I hate what's going on, but obviously I'm not reading it. I'm just putting it into a plastic sleeve and putting it into a long box where it will wait into a storage unit until I die, and then my grandkids can throw it all in the dumpster.
Bingo.
But yeah, or actually more likely, I've seen this happen more often than not. My collection will be sold to a comic book store, which will put it into another area, and then that will be sold off in dollar bins. But, you know, hey, listen, legacy. So I was just like, that's interesting that it came out, like that, that there was something, and I like there's a number of levels here that I appreciate, and not to say that I'm like some kind of big shill, but I will say here's one thing that I like. Number one, Marvel issued a statement. They've got DC beat by 100% because DC apparently learned we don't need to issue statements. We can just let things happen. Like we can fire executives at our company and then never say anything. Just shake their heads like they're refusing pie in a diner, and that's it. Whereas Marvel was like, no, we can lie to the audience. Just say no. No, we didn't do that. No, we didn't do that. And obviously, the only reason why that happened was because it was like an Entertainment Weekly article about it, and Feige's like, God damn it. The IP mining colony got uppity on some stupid podcast and cited me personally. Damn it. And then, of course, another conversation where Feige's like, hey, I don't normally do this, but could you please issue a statement that says that I didn't do that? I don't know.
I feel like what you did.
Right. Yeah, but don't. But just lie to them.
Oh, right.
Please. For God's sake. What are you, a child? Grow up. And it's like, yeah, on one hand, I appreciate that Marvel even has a statement. On the other, I kind of appreciate the kind of gentle approach that Feige had, according to Ziegler, where it's like, hey, I don't want to do this all the time, but like,
I'm going to do it this time.
But I am going to do it. And I do feel like it's important enough for us to like make it happen.
I guess if they just needed the change, I mean, it was Wells' decision to kill her to do that.
Well, I mean, they said, right. Did Feige know enough about XMen and the Resurrection Protocols to go, yeah, no, she has to die, but when she comes back, we can reveal, no, I don't think that Feige had any idea about any of that. He was just like, just make her not an Inhuman anymore.
Right.
Like, make her a mutant now, please.
Sure.
And they were like, okay, well, I guess we can figure that out.
Right.
We actually happen to have a thing on the books right now where we can bring somebody back and we can fudge it and change any aspect of them or reveal that she's a mutant Inhuman. And it's just because we're in the process of because we're in the practice of doing that, we'll ignore the Bendis retcon that if you make a mutant Inhuman, it becomes a Beyonder. But whatever.
Right.
Everyone ignored that immediately after it happened anyway, and that was over 10 years ago, so who cares? But yeah, so that was fun. I was just like, oh, interesting, a little bit of drama, and I'm like, yeah, that kind of thing happens all the time. And I don't care. I mean, I was outraged when it happened to Spider-Man, and they didn't even get a call. They just did it, and I think that's actually worse. I think it's worse because for me, it's like, Papa Movies, will you please like me now? Will you notice me if I make it kind of in line with your thing?
I don't know if it's that. I really do think that I'm gonna guess that if this is all true, right? Yeah. Because it's like, on the one hand, you have someone who's like, this is what I heard.
This is what I was there and I heard this, and here are quotes.
And then you have the company going like, nah. So I'm going to say, if this is what actually happened.
Right. Allegedly
what happened. It could just be that Feige knew enough that like Kamala has a pretty strong fan base. And so it would be nice, since they came from the comics, for the comics to take the lead before they came in and did it. And if that's the case, that's just him showing a bit of respect. And I kind of, maybe that's just me wanting to be idealistic here.
Sure.
But I kind of like that.
Yeah.
I kind of like that more so than it just being him being like, yeah, change this for me.
Yeah. In fact, there's actually a relevant story that goes along with that.
Oh, really?
Yes. When they were making the first X-Men movie, Marvel Comics was pushed by themselves. Like Joe Quesada and company were like, we need to tell Wolverine's origin. We need to do it now because we know they're going to do it in the movies. And if it's going to happen, we want to be the ones to have done it first. Like, we don't want to be dictated by what's Wolverine's origin in the movies. We want to make the dictations. And Wolverine is owed his origins in the comics at like first. And I'm like, that's interesting. Like that was the decision they made back then. And it was basically because like they heard through the grapevine they were gonna do it. And they were like, oh crap, we better do it now. And then at least they will have, you know, the audience on our side. And they were lucky that they had like Paul Jenkins and, you know, talented Kuberts to make that comic into something good.
Yeah.
Regardless how you feel about future endeavors and, you know, Bone Claws and whatnot. But I was like, that's interesting. Yeah. That's really cool that they did that. And we're seeing it here where, you know, the executive from the studio is coming in and being like, could you please make a change?
Could you do this?
Could you do this for me, please?
I'm sure it's not what happened, but I would love to have Feige have gotten the comic and be like, you killed her?
What the hell? Well, that's not what... I mean, it is something very comics. To take a very simple suggestion and just botch it.
You know what we're going to do?
Let's do the worst thing. Like, whatever the worst thing we could possibly do is, that's what we should do. It's just, why did you do that? Now, I mean, you know, her dying by sacrificing herself to save Mary Jane. I mean, like, that's pretty high optics.
Yeah.
But what's worse? Kamala going into the Crucible and being slaughtered by Apocalypse so that she come back as a mutant? Or
were they still doing the Crucible at that time?
I mean, why you could always just say that they were. But yeah, so it was interesting. That was an interesting element that came out.
Right.
Another interesting piece of news that came out.
Yeah, what do you got?
Was that Scott Snyder is building an Ultimate Universe for DC Comics, and it's gonna be called Absolute Comics. Which
at least someone's finally doing it. I know we mentioned about it when it was a rumor, but that like
there's still a rumor.
Lots of people have been talking about it forever. The idea that like, and we certainly have had that pitch where it's just like DC needs its own like Ultimate Universe.
We've been talking about it for years. It's something that needs to be done. It's something that some might argue has been tried with Earth One, though I would argue they never really coalesced the universes, and some of the books are so disparate there's no way they could possibly be in the same universe in the first place. But I did argue that was the first Ultimate Universe for DC, or at the very least an Ultimate Universe for DC. But again, it was just never going to work. You know, releasing original graphic novels as part of your universe, you needed the monthly in order to bolster your universe. And you needed more crossover. You needed a Justice League book. You needed, like, it wasn't enough to do the Titans. Who are they in comparison to Batman Earth 1 or Wonder Woman Earth 1? And some of those books are so disparate it doesn't even work. But now we're apparently getting one. So this is according to Bleeding Cool. This is not according to any internal things. And I had a thought. I thought about asking Scott to come on the show, but I didn't want to put him in a position where he had to issue any like formal announcements.
That's the correct decision.
Right, but I thought it'd be kind of fun to get him like to be like, but then I thought the episode would mostly be him going, I don't know, I can't talk about it. So I was like,
no.
But
like that wouldn't be nice.
It wouldn't be fair. No, I was going to ask him a couple days ago. I was going to give him some time, but I didn't want to put him in a position. But for there's a number of things to point out. Number one, Absolute Comics. That's the name of a podcast that I'm also on.
You are. That is a little sus.
Suspicious. No, I don't think that there's any correlation between the fact that Scott Snyder's been on a show called Absolute Comics and then came up with the name Absolute Comics.
No, I mean, like, it's a little sus that would be the name. Then. It's just like... It's
true. Like, it's a good name. As a person who came up with it in the first place, it's a good name, I will say.
Which I know you did before anyone else took credit for that show. You did.
I did come up with that.
I was there for that.
That's true. Yes. Although there is I think there was a store called Absolute Comics. So hopefully they're enjoying the windfall of this announcement as well.
Right.
But they're also apparently they call it DC's All In. That's what again, Rich Johnson of Bleeding Cool is referring to these things. He's saying that it will parallel the Marvel's Ultimate line. It revamps the DC iconic heroes, and Absolute Comics offers creators more freedom, akin to the All-Star line. That's the case when it called it All-Star Comics. But
like that's a really funny thing to mention in this, because it's like on the one hand, one really incredible book comes out of that line. On the other hand, one absolutely bonkers, insane book comes out of that line.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess that is creative freedom. You can go one way or the other.
Yep. Oh yeah, absolutely. Bleeding Cool actually whipped up a logo for this initiative.
Must we?
And I needed to share it because I know that you think it sucks, and I agree.
Must we?
It's just the logo.
I mean, that's fine. Yay,
yeah, no, it
that's
says
even
absolute at the
better.
top. There's a number of reasons why this is ugly and terrible, and it's why DC would never do it. First of all, because DC actually has like a graphics design department. For another, like, for what a dated, like, let's put a friggin' metallic sheen on it. What is this, T3 Rise of the Machines?
Okay,
Like,
admittedly, like a lot of 90s aesthetics are coming back around.
That's
so,
true.
Like the liquid metal look has been like shown
Used.
to be like being used. That said, I can't. We have to make this go away. Because before it goes, wait, no, leave it up. So
All right,
we can
all right.
see it.
All right.
Because it Absolute isn't centered over DC, and I hate it. I hate it so much. It hurts me.
I know.
It just hurts me. I just hate it.
I think it's atrocious.
I don't like that.
But I mean, look, they had to they had to hastily put it together. It's not like they work for DC. DC, if it was halfway decent, you'd be comparing it to DC. This is actually the best thing they could have done, is make it just butt ugly. So that way you're like, oh, well, whatever DC does will be better than this. But I just wanted to bring it up because I thought it was funny that you hated it so much. Yeah. But yeah, so that's the rumor, is that Scott Snyder is returning to DC. He's going to be making an Ultimate Universe for DC. DC's Bleeding Cool has been running gossip about it for the last couple of months, at the very least. And you know, the rumor is that there's going to be an Ultimate Universe that's going to be spearheaded by Scott. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, if it's true, allegedly, you know, I loathe this as an announcement because
because it takes away the power away
from DC,
and instead of them being able to like tease something out and maybe do something fun with their marketing, now instead, if it is real, then they have to do spin and they have to take control of the narrative instead, and so we like lose out on creative ad campaigns. Yeah, and
that's the thing, is like I think that it could be really cool if it's real, if it's a legitimate announcement, or if it's a legitimate rumor that has any basis in reality. It'll be more exciting and cool. That it'll be more exciting and cool when we see like art and creative teams. And stuff like that.
Sure. But it's just I don't know. It's just unnecessary.
To
always take the thunder from them.
It's true, and I mean, like, look, the fact based on how little response we've gotten from anyone, particularly Scott and company. If it is true, they're probably not in any way ready for any kind of announcement or any kind, which also kills me, because it's like, well, great. Now that when they do have their announcement, it's going to be like, yeah, we heard that already. Thankfully, there's very little to actually announce, if there's anything at all. It's like, I heard, these are the words I've heard. That's all I've heard. Absolute Comics, which also apes off of the Absolute Power event that's coming out. And it's like, okay, yeah. So like either that's true or it's shades of something that's already happened that's not related. But either way, like, all I'm hearing is words. I don't know who they're like. Is there a creative team? Is there an initiative? Is it, is it autonomous? Is it part of the multiverse? Like, there's nothing.
Right. I mean, for me, it also makes me concerned, because it's like, well, if they may feel like they have to move up their timeline for
and that's the worst,
releasing it, which means that you'll get something that isn't fully developed, and it's gonna feel like you're gonna be like, well, there's not much to it, and that takes away from the excitement because they weren't ready. Because this has come out now. Yeah.
Now, it's funny when I think about like DC launching an Ultimate line and Scott Snyder being behind it, right? This being the announcement. My mind is a whirl with concepts, ideas, and pitches and rollouts. But my most enthusiasm comes from how they could announce this. Like, how this could be used to encourage and titillate retailers, get the audience hyped up about something in comics again, and just generally, like, stir up the hen house, so to speak. And I'm like, that's really fun. I was thinking about the WonderCon DC Rebirth panel, which I coincidentally was literally at when they made the announcement. I didn't know that was going to happen. It was one of those things where, like, we were just going to more conventions, and I happened to be invited to the WonderCon show, and I heard that there was a panel, and I sat up front in the front row, and I'm watching this happen. And, like, they had this roster of creators, like, all these creators all in one place. and each of them had a book, and each book had art, and that art had a big and it was streamed live. Like all this coordination, all this effort, all this work. There were special DC donuts that they were giving out to people in the audience. I got a C.
Did you?
There were D's and C's. I got the C. Yeah, I did.
Was it good?
It was good. Yeah. I mean, I took a picture of it. I ate it. It was great.
I wonder where they got them from.
I know, right? I assumed from a local thing. It was in Anaheim, so I don't know, maybe, but like, so I don't know anything about like the local, bakery culture. I assume it was probably just something, mass produced, but it was still cool. But like, I haven't seen a rollout like that again since then, and that was Rebirth, which is forever ago at this point. And the closest thing that I can think of in terms of hype machine from DC, I mean, Marvel, forget about it. Marvel doesn't have a marketing department at this point, outside of like outrage. It's just like, let's do something that'll piss people off, and it'll just perpetuate itself. But with DC, they're like, well, hang on, and it was Doomsday Clock. Like Doomsday Clock was a big effing deal,
right?
And not just the merch that you could get at the convention and the goodies and stuff, but like just the rollout and the art and the creative team and the implication of this book and all that. Now, of course, the wind was taken completely out of sales by virtue of how long it took for the freaking book to come out.
Right.
And the fact that like while that was coming out, they also made a botch by hiring Bendis and him taking the wind out of their own sails by accident. And just a lot of moving factors. But like had that actually worked, man, what a different world we'd be in. As it stands, I'm actually a big fan of like where DC is right now in terms of the DC period where we're in. I can't remember the name of it, unfortunately. Yeah. So that being said, I'm like, what is something that they could do to roll out? What would they do? What should they do if they were to announce an Ultimate DC line? How should they do?
It's not all in, right?
No, they're calling it all in right here.
Right, but
that's what this fake thing that we don't know even know exists is called.
Right. What are we in right now? Dawn of DC.
Thank
you.
That
was driving me like. I was like, DC is in it.
Yeah, and it took the audience way too long to think of it too.
There's a little bit of a delay. Like
it's true. I feel like a few of our audience members were like, "Oh my god, yeah, what is that called?" But yes, Dawn of DC, which I believe is over now because I don't see it on any of the covers anymore. But yeah. So what would they do? What should they do?
What do you mean?
What should they do to announce if they were? Let's say that the Ultimate DC is real.
Yeah.
And they have like a roster of creative teams. They got crazy looking art, and they're ultimizing their flagship characters.
It should be at San Diego.
Okay, so first of all, you got three because you got a couple of options. You could do it at New York, you could do it at San Diego, you could do it at WonderCon.
So, like, I would have said that they could have done it at either, right? But I feel like San Diego is now the pressing one because there's already rumors coming out about things. So if it's real, then what they all need to do is take control of their narrative. But at least they could do it in a big way. And so, like, hopefully they have everything kind of lined up and they can start showing things. Otherwise, like, if you're not ready, wait for New York.
Oh yeah, but I fear that New York, I mean, first of all, it's October. That's actually not a bad time because it's like it's late in the year. Scottober. That would give new meaning to the term Scottober, I'll tell you that. But you got it's later in the year, so give yourself more time. C2E2 can't happen. That's literally at the end of the week. That's not enough time.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there would have been some reaction from the DC bullpen.
Well, unless they just don't care. They're just gonna be like, whatever. Yes or no.
But that's the worst thing. Yeah. Right? That's the worst thing they could do is not celebrate. But yes, I think San Diego or New York Comic Con maybe they make most sense. The problem is New York Comic Con, it's a little caustic, it's a little quiet. It could be a bigger show, but like, is it?
New York?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I don't think it makes the headlines.
Vibe, and that's why I think San Diego is better.
Yeah.
Like New York does have its big announcements and it has big panels, but there's just something like jubilant about San Diego.
Yeah. I think so too. It gives them more time to go to New York, but I think maybe you could do it in like a two-phase process where like you make the announcement, you give us the creative teams, you give us some covers, San Diego, and then you get panels and art at New York. Give those creative teams some time to get some stuff done and then do the big announcement at New York or do the second big announcement. You're like, stay tuned for New York. See you in what? Like July, August, September, October. Like, so see you in 3 months.
Yeah.
That's it. That's not a bad idea.
Well, if they are going with Absolute Comics.
Absolute Comics, yes.
Someone pointed out in the chat That does give them ACDC.
They could go with ACDC.
They might
yes.
as well just.
They might as well just go with it.
Just commit.
Yeah.
Commit to the bit.
I mean, if that's the case, why not? You have until
plot.
Call ACDC and have them make a song. Right? I mean, what's more metal than that? Yeah, they well, the last lead singer is out, but they have a new singer. But yeah, second new singer has.
I know a lot of that is associated with Marvel, thanks to Iron Man.
Yeah, so own it, take it away from them.
Yeah,
you know, Batman. Yeah, he's not singing anymore. But yeah, yeah, ACDC. It's not just a song. ACDC is a real word. But anyway, so yeah, that's the rumor. That's the biggest rumor right now, is that like there's going to be an Ultimate DC.
Sure, yeah,
and that Scott's behind it. Now Scott knows a lot of really, really talented people, so I could imagine him really pulling out all the stops.
Sure.
My hope would be that's
right, but
case.
like, yeah, you need to have everything unlocked. If you're doing this, if this is real,
yes,
and you're doing it, and
yes,
you need to make an announcement. It needs to be unlocked down. Like, this is what's going to be happening.
Yeah.
Here is like a bit of a timeline, but not too much. You don't want to overcommit.
Oh yeah, no, well, the other thing, the thing that like they need to understand, and like they need our help or our advice, but like one thing that they need to understand is that like, you know, Scott, he's a creator, he's a powerful creator, but he's a creator, you know, and you know, one thing that like Bendis did when Bendis was working at Marvel is Bendis ended up being like a really important figure and ended up shaping the Marvel universe. But in his process to do that, Mark Millar shows up and does Civil War, and it completely changes everything. And for everything that Bendis has done, Secret Invasion and Siege and you know, the New Avengers, the Mighty Avengers, like every event that he did, House of M that he's created, none of them compare to the impact and the success of Civil War. And Civil War completely derailed his plans, and because Bendis wasn't in charge, that all he could do was roll with it, you know. And it's the same with this, I fear, where it's like, if Scott is gonna launch an Ultimate Universe, or at the very least, if Scott's gonna spearhead an Ultimate Universe, he better have Editorial behind him.
Yeah.
He better have everyone at Editorial behind him, or he better be bringing in his own editors that are behind him. Like, there better be a conceited effort behind him from the top down that's all in, so to speak, according to this article's description, that like supports him.
Yeah.
Because look, comics are tough and they need time. It's not enough to have like a big first issue. You know, the big first issue, obviously, you're going to see a big drop off in sales from the first one to the second one. So you got to have really big sales in that first one. But in order to get grassroots support, you're going to have to be in it for a while, especially if you're building a whole new universe, especially if you're building a new universe that's like running side by side with one of the longest, most enduring superhero universes in comics. So you got to have support. And you're gonna count on pitfalls. You got to count on creatives leaving or getting sick. You got to count on public opinion switching. You got to count on people losing faith in the narrative. And as long as you believe in the story, you got to be able to commit to that. You know, you can't just go like, oh, they don't like it, switch it. You know, Twitter doesn't like this idea. Right. Let's move it in this direction. You got to have like people behind you, and you got to be able. Let's say you believe in the creatives, but your editorial department has cold feet. Well, that's a problem. You know, I would actually trust it better if they were like, oh, and also Scott Snyder is going to become like president of DC or something.
I don't know.
He's not certainly not according to this, but like, you know, it's like, I would trust it. You know, it's why people hail Jeff Johns' books in such high regard.
Right.
I love Jeff Johns' books because the son of a bitch knows story structure. He knows how to tell a story. His weakest stories are still totally readable. You can read them. You can read them from beginning to end. There are books that I've read that are like that are pretty bad by good creators that I've never finished because they're just that bad.
Yeah.
But with Jeff Johns, I can finish it.
Right.
He knows it. So that's the biggest praise I can give him. That said, Flashpoint sucks. That said, Doomsday Clock is 50-50. Like, it's great looking and kind of an offense. Like, a lot of things that Jeff Johns created were supported by the fact that he was in charge and he could get behind it and he could push it harder. Like, and if it was kind of like, oh, I don't know about Trial of Atlantis, he could be like, well, you know what? All you're getting is Aquaman. All you're getting is this version of Aquaman. And we're not going to move because I'm in charge.
Right.
You know, if Scott butts heads with anybody at DC, it's going to be a bloodbath. And it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Now, Scott has a lot of goodwill because he has successful events. People we're some of them have made fun of like the Metal Wars, as they refer to them now.
Do they really?
That's what I've seen them referred to as in different books. But the Metal Wars, Editorial, I can imagine being like, I trust you. It's being like, Batman Who Laughs, Cenobite Batman? I don't know. Oh, I trust you, you know? So he's engendered a lot of goodwill.
Yep.
And I can imagine them sticking, but even then, like, I could see them sticking it out for a time.
Yeah.
But not as long as, like, let's say Jeff Johns could have stuck with his own material because he was also the guy writing the checks.
Right.
So it's like, it's interesting. I don't know.
I know.
It's just, it's a bold initiative. If it's real.
If it's real. I do want to point out too, I know we're talking about like if it's real, when would we hear about it?
Right.
I just remembered that I know Scott Snyder is currently working on the Witches Amazon show.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's been involved with, like, I think I saw like an image of like him with like a whole team meeting with like the writers and stuff like that. So I don't know how much he is integral to that going on, but I know that's something he definitely wants to see.
Absolutely. No, I saw him say recently, within the past month, I saw him say that he just wrapped up working with that. I think he was on one of our shows, actually. I think you check out the conversation with
but it was like more recently.
Yeah,
like I literally saw like a tweet.
Oh, he's still over there. Yeah.
Like
well, I did
like
see
that.
he went to LA like the other day. Like he tweeted about how he went to LA.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, if he's been working on that, if this is something that if this Absolute Comics thing is real, then like maybe he isn't prepared to launch it yet because he's been trying to button up.
Right. I got to finish up all this stuff I'm doing over here.
Yeah.
I mean, for God's sake,
so then like maybe
Dungeon just finished.
Right. Like maybe New York is
a better time.
Yeah.
Certainly. If I were a betting man, I would say definitely keep an eye out for New York Comic Con. If I were expecting any kind of announcement. And even if let's say this whole thing is bunk and there is nothing. Hey, everyone in the comic book industry, I would set my sights for New York Comic Con and make a big announcement there.
Right.
Because people are waiting for one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the very least, this has certainly like whetted people's appetites for some kind of a big, cool announcement. And I don't know if X-Men was enough for that. That said, there is a big announcement that came from Marvel that I was like, I couldn't believe. And it was Aliens versus Avengers.
Oh, yeah.
Aliens versus Avengers from effing Jonathan Hickman and Assad Ribic, the creative team behind Secret Wars.
Yeah.
Is doing a freaking Avengers crossover. Not since Wildcats Aliens have we seen a more potentially bombastic and important alien-based crossover. And I am here for it.
To do it.
That's exactly
right. There's no way they were like, hey,
yeah, Hickman,
Jonathan, you got any alien stories?
I completely agree with you. I don't think there's any way that Jonathan Hickman was like asked by Marvel Editorial if he was interested. I think he probably saw Predator Wolverine. He's like, hey, how come you guys didn't call me? And they were like, oh, I don't know. I just kind of figured you were never going to do that. And he's like, well, you thought wrong. I have an Alien versus Avengers crossover pitch. I've been working on it for the last 30 years, and I can't wait to do it. And I'm just going to get Assad Ribic to draw it. And yeah, it's happening right now.
And it involves no pirate ships.
No pirate. Well, good.
I know, you gotta save it.
Gotta save it for me and for the Predator. But like, look at how they used the Whale and Yutani logo and made it AVA. I'm like, oh my God. That's it. I'm not a huge fan of the alien mouths because it just looks like he has little teeth in there. It's good. Whatever. It's Assad Ribic. I understand some poses are going to be kind of wonky.
But he does have a little mouth.
Yeah, but he looks like he has horse teeth. Anyway, I'm a fan. I'm ready for this. I'm so on board. I'm hyped. I hate the 20th Century Fox logo. I hate the 2003 circa, WordPress website banner that they got over there. That said, everything about that's their 20th century approach. I think it's horrible. Okay. Just put Marvel on it. Oh, but it's in the corner there. Okay. No, this is dope. I'm so excited. Aliens versus Avengers. The other thing is,
yeah,
because it's the 20th Century Studios comic, where's that gun when I need it? Thank you. Maybe it could go like R-rated.
Yeah.
Like maybe we can...
Marvel's down in the corner. It's down.
Yeah, it's down there. But like maybe they could go kind of really bloody. Is it in continuity or not? I don't know. There's so much. And all we know is like the most important facts, which is that Jonathan freaking Hickman and Assad Ribic are doing an Alien crossover with the freaking Avengers.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
I'm in. Anyway, so that was exciting. But yeah, see, there's plenty of news. I also want to point out that we talked about Dungeon for a second.
Yes.
In the IDW space, they are making this unprecedented 40th anniversary TMNT comic.
Okay.
That I was like, wow. Like looking at the creative team on this, it's basically like anybody who's touched the Ninja Turtles since '84 is going to be working on this freaking book that's coming out in July. There's actually, it's really cool. According to the article that I have here, there's like there's an Eastman and Laird cover that they have made, and it's like, oh, look at that, look at them working together for a second. How nice. But yeah, I'm just like, as they get ready for not like a reboot, because not a technical reboot, it's more like a reset or relaunch. This will be a fun kind of palate cleanser where it's like, hey, here's something that's going to celebrate every version of the Turtles. So it's like, if you have a favorite version, you're probably going to see it in this book. That's really cool. I'm just like, all right, cool.
Can we just talk? I always love the texture
of the Turtles,
of like the Eastman Laird art.
Absolutely.
Like,
there's a grit. It's like they invented it.
I really like it in the background the most. Like I like it on the Turtles themselves, but I love it part of the background. I don't know how to describe it in this moment.
Yeah.
But I love how it like reacts to them being there. I don't know. It's just really cool.
I agree.
It's just I like it a lot.
Yeah. So that's coming out in July. But I should point out that apparently you won't have to wait too long because in June they're launching a book called TMNT Alpha, which is a prelude story written by the guy who's going to take over the Turtles, Jason freaking Aaron, and Chris Burnham drawing it. And you have until this Friday to pre-order the book. So if you're interested in checking out kind of like the new era of TMNT, it pretty much starts with TMNT Alpha, which is going to be dropping this June. So definitely check out that book. And if you want to pre-order it, you have until Friday for final order cutoff. So definitely look up TMNT Alpha, which is dropping this June. It's going to be written by Jason Aaron, so you're going to get a pretty good idea about like what's going to be the tone of that Turtle series.
This is very interesting because I famously accused Jason Aaron of not being able to write a team.
Yes,
but this is a different.
This is a family.
This is a family. This is different. I feel like I might not hold to that when it comes to the Turtles. I think it's going to be very different.
Oh, dude, no, I definitely agree. I'm not a huge fan of Jason Aaron's teams, but he, as we've said before, like he does understand individual characters.
Oh yeah,
and family. So that's going to be awesome. Joshua Mayhead helped us out with a $50 super sticker. So thank you very much, Joshua, for your freaking generosity and kindness. Mosho says, hey, ComicPop, hope to see you at C2E2. A Chicago native here recommending Italian Fiesta Pizzeria for tavern-style thin crust pizza. I hear that's the way to go.
Tavern-style?
Tavern-style.
It's not the deep dish?
It's not the stupid
casserole?
It's not the casserole. I do love tavern-style thin crust pizza.
You do?
I do. I'm a sucker for it. Yes. I'm a sucker for any kind of pizza, but I'm down. So I will check that out. Jackson Boyd, I can't make the live. Wanted to say I bought all of Saga thanks to Tiffany's back issues episodes.
Yay!
Nice. Also, since Krakoa is coming to an end, what are some of your favorite moments, storylines, and characters?
That's a really solid question. I think at the end of the day, Apocalypse for me really stood out, and I feel like a lot of folks didn't like the change to him. But hopefully now, if you stuck with it, you see him coming around the other side. And if it wasn't for where he was, I feel like it wouldn't be quite as meaningful. Legion stood out for me, a character I never really thought I would have been into. Nightcrawler, same. I mean, like I like Kurt, but like I really dig Kurt in this. Saturnine, man. Sassy ass bitch. And moments, I mean, I loved the first Hellfire Gala. I loved all of 10 of Swords. I loved Sins of Sinister. Yes. AVX. AVX. It's been a really good time. I loved like the whole Hellions run. There was just so much to love. Yeah. And that's really what it is. It's like when you look back on it, because like when you're in the middle of like a point in a run that you don't like, it's really easy to get focused on that and feel like nothing else was enjoyable. But now that I've gotten further away from, you know, some of the things that maybe I didn't love about Krakoa,
right?
I know there are way more things that I enjoyed.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
And Hulkzilla says, glad you guys went on a vacation. I hope it was a great time. Y'all deserved it. Well, thank you very much, Hulkzilla. Yeah, we got to fly the Millennium Falcon. It was awesome. Yeah, and it was super great. It was just a wonderful experience. But yeah, man. So yeah, let's get into some comic books, folks. I read Nightwing 113. This is from, of course, Tom Taylor and Marv Wolfman with art by Bruno Redondo. This feels like, you know, knowing that Taylor's leaving the book, this feels like an end. It feels really sad. It's the Legacy 300th issue. It is it's bittersweet because it's so fun. It's so delightful. And, you know, they get the character so much. You know, this is not just a celebration of Dick Grayson. This is a celebration of Barbara Gordon. This is a proper representation of their relationship. This is everything that if you are a Nightwing fan, you are looking for. I think it's sad because this book, you know, of course, is very easy to fall under the radar because you can trust that Taylor will take care of them. I think a lot of folk read books like SpiderMan and stuff because they want to make sure that their favorite character is being taken care of. They want to monitor them, make sure that they're okay, and then freak out when they're not. And that is not the case when it comes to Nightwing. It's just a great series. Heartless is still lurking in the background. I'm still waiting for Heartless to actually matter or be interesting, and I fear that will never come. But I also don't care because I don't really care about Heartless. I'm more interested in just watching. Like, you know, I think Bendis famously said, you know, you can't do a book about Daredevil just eating a hot dog and having a nice day. I would buy a Nightwing series where Nightwing is just eating a hot dog and having a nice day, like just taking Bitewing out for a ride, or going on a date with Barbara Gordon. These are books that I'm tired. You know, I got there's decades of misery. I'm ready for some joy, and this is a book that is full of that. So definitely read this book if you were not already picking it up, especially because it's ending soon.
Yeah.
I read Quick Stops Volume 2, Number 4 from Kevin Smith and Ahmed Rafat. This is the end of this story arc. So the previous series of Quick Stops was Kevin Smith doing essentially View Askew universe stories. Each one was kind of a done-in-one where it like checks in with different characters from the View Askew universe, including Randall and Brody and so forth. This was a 4-issue miniseries that was a kind of backstory about the creation of the movie character from the background of his movies post Dogma, where it's like, here's a character like Mickey the Mouse, but created by
Mickey the Mouse,
because, you know, Mooby was, he's a Ronald McDonald, he's a Mickey, he's anything, you know, but here's this crazy story. And I suspected that I recognized the main, like the main character who's the character is interviewing the main character in the present day story. And I did. It was it's the 50% of the new Jay and Silent Bob duo from, Harley and whatever her character name is, Melina Falcon, something, and it doesn't matter. Point is, this book becomes something else. It's funny. I remember like seeing Dogma, and Dogma was like, this is really like mature, kind of like funny deviation from the previous, three Kevin Smith movies. But then Jay and Silent Bob show up, completely changing the tone and the direction of the movie. And arguably Dogma might be his best movie because it's so like it manages to toe the line and balance a lot of like what makes it work and what makes his writing work and his characters and stuff. And it takes Jay and Bob out of the familiar and out of the local. This book does a similar thing where the previous was just kind of like this weird, erotic thriller about like, this throuple and betrayal and greed and sex and murder and money, and then Jay and Silent Bob show up at the end and save the day, and you're like, all right, this could have gone another issue to kind of like earn that ending,
right?
But it reminds it's like, but I did, and I could see any complaint being like, but I did that already in things you do like. Why didn't you like it now? And, it's because we haven't established that any of that would happen until this issue. But that said, it's still fun. It's an easy read. The art, again, it has this very like Phil Hester-esque quality to it, but it just feels unfinished. Very sketchy. It's too loose for my sensibilities.
Wait, hang on. Go back to that. Just show the cover one more time.
Oh, sure. The cover is more complete, mostly because it's colored. The interiors are all black and white.
Does anyone else notice the poor kerning between the O and the W in cow? Because I think I missed most of what you said.
Right, because you were just so focused on this.
Like, I was like, am I wrong? No, because that C and that O are super close to each other.
Yes. I know.
Okay.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a Devil's Advocate reference, the cover here.
Sure.
You know, this is, I don't know why.
Sure.
Has nothing to do with that. Also, there's like a weird, like, kind of like cult reference at the end, which just comes completely out of nowhere. It's a shame. Like, it's a shame because it just kind of like, it just turns into something else. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, that's not really, that's not really what you were building. Oh, well. Kind of a dud, but all right. Yeah. And really quick, I read 007 James Bond #4 from Garth Ennis and Rafa Labasco. This is a this is a James Bond script with pictures in it, but there's a lot more talking than there is action.
Okay.
And most of it is just talking that you don't really need because they're reiterating crap. It's like they don't trust that we understand what's going on. And there's so much talking that I fear I was missing something. I was like, am I missing something? I get the premise, but why are you still explaining the premise to me?
Because I assume you don't get it.
But like, I really get it. I got it 3 issues ago.
Well,
but you know, it's fun. It is cool. I was like, this is a fun, weird James Bond story. It's not set in any reality, in any continuity. There's completely new versions of everybody. New Moneypenny, new M, new Bond, new villains. There's an implication in the first issue that like maybe there's another Bond. Like, you know, like the idea that we've always had that Bond is a name or a title that we give to people. But yeah, no, actually, Bond doesn't have sex with anybody in any of these issues, but Moneypenny sure does. And it's not gratuitous and gross and weird and horrible. And I'm like, what?
Good for Moneypenny?
Good for Garth Ennis for managing to rein it in. I don't know. It's really weird.
Maybe he has respect for this character.
I mean, that would be weird since James Bond is essentially like a racist serial killer. But whatever.
Well, no, he's like, I can imagine him being real. I'm like, Batman.
Right. Yeah, no, it's
like,
true. Well, he doesn't wear a stupid costume like an idiot. So I have respect for him. Sure, Garth. I dug it. I was like, this is kind of a fun book. If you like James Bond, you might like this book. I mean, it's called freaking James Bond, so I would hope you would. But like, it feels like if like a Daniel Craig version of Bond was in a Pierce Brosnan movie.
Oh. Right?
Like if Die Another Day, you know, was made by like the people who made what's that? Skyfall. Where it's like, what? Like, it's very, what? I mean, I'm here for it. You know, like, there's a sequence in this issue. No, it's actually in the previous issue where, like, there's a traitor on the International Space Station. Bond gets onto it. He's doing a spacewalk, and someone sneaks out to kill him. And they're on the ISS. They have, like, a bunch of animals they're testing for, like, 0G effects on animals. He puts a freaking snake in her spacesuit before she goes out. So it's nuts.
Okay.
I was like, yep. So fun and silly. Very silly, but worth checking out. I might wait for the trade, but it's still pretty fun.
Okay.
If I were you folks, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. I mean, I didn't wait for the trade. I'm reading it.
Yeah, I was gonna say you did not do that.
I didn't, but I would if I were you.
Might.
Yeah. What about you, Tiffany? What did you read?
I just want to bring up a book that came out.
Like, was it last week when we were off?
It was the week before. I mean, technically, it came out 2 weeks ago.
That's true. Yeah.
I just wanted to point out I read Ultimate X-Men #2.
Oh yay!
And it's just as amazing as the first X. Like, I wish this whole thing came out as like volume 1, as opposed to in individual issues.
Sure.
I just want the rest of what Peach Momoko is creating for us. I love this like new status quo for like these like all new like X-Men that we've never met before.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, I like getting to know Armor and this version of Storm, and I like the fact that there's like, you know, spooky ghosts and like, you know, weird stuff happening, and her visuals are unbelievable. And I just wanted to point that out, that if I didn't get a chance to talk about it, and I just needed to talk about it with somebody.
Yes, that's fair. Yeah, that it's still just you know,
it's just utterly
the quality's there,
unbelievable, and I'm really like interested in knowing what other references we're getting here.
Yeah.
But
well, and here's the thing, folks. Like, if manga really is beating Western comics, then this book should be the #1 book every month, right?
But you don't like people don't know it.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Well, no, just by virtue of existing, though, according to people, manga is just easily, just by virtue of its existence, its premise, you know, and the delivery method is just perfect.
I mean,
it's a sales juggernaut.
I mean, admittedly, yes, you say that with like, you know, venom in your words, but admittedly, yeah, it is a little bit of a better delivery system, because even though the pages are smaller, you're getting more of that story all at once.
Yeah,
it does make it easier to extract.
Yeah, but then trade paperbacks should be selling great.
Well, yeah, but it is a very different type of storytelling.
It is completely.
And it is, you know, it's just very different. Like I know it's easy to compare them, but I think it's also much easier to...
It's reductive to compare.
Yes, I agree. Anyway, I just wanted to point that out.
Totally.
I just needed to talk about that.
Yeah.
I just really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
A lot. Additionally, I read Ghost Rider Final Vengeance #2 that came out this past week.
Oh, great.
Written by freaking Ben Percy. I don't know why I said that like that.
Because
my brain couldn't come up with the name, and then it was like, oh, you know what it is. It's freaking Ben Percy.
Freaking Ben Percy in the Hood, baby.
With art by Danny Kim. Listen, I'm reading this book because I really enjoyed what Percy was doing with Ghost Rider. I will say, I don't care about the Hood.
No. No, not since
all.
Bendis did anybody cared about the Hood, and even then, nobody did then either.
Certainly an uphill battle for this creative team to keep my attention.
Yeah.
So naturally, they ended the book with a few pages of like, where's Johnny Blaze right now, and why doesn't like
where is the chase, and how do I cut to?
No, it's just like, hey, don't forget, like Blaze is still in this, and like really, this is like a hopefully this will go away. But Mephisto makes an appearance in this.
Woo-hoo-hoo!
The Hood did make a deal with him.
Like, oh, good.
That's how we got. I'm like, oh, okay. Like we're going by the rules.
Is there still a demon in his hood? Is it just I took the demon out of your hood and I put it into you?
No, he just took the spirit of vengeance out of Johnny. Like, he just has that.
Oh, we really did that though.
Oh, we really did that. Like he really made a deal with Mephisto, and he has it.
Good.
What?
Leave it out of him. Johnny Blaze hasn't been interesting since he had a mullet.
No, I've liked what he's done with him recently. I think it's been good. Honestly, if anyone needs to be at fix, it's not Johnny.
It's Danny. Well, Danny's just been
Danny's been just dragged through trash since he fell in the trash.
Since he was created.
That poor guy. Poor guy. And then poor Robbie's over there. It's just like, does anyone remember me at all? I know I have a car, and that seems to be really what my biggest problem is, apparently.
Yes.
But yeah.
No, Robbie. No one remembers you.
Listen, he
was he was the new hotness.
No, he is the new hotness, and he was in the spirit. The game, and that
was in the game.
He was actually great in that.
Yeah,
but Blaze was also in that, not Danny. But yeah, I do feel really, really bad for Danny Ketch, and I wish they would just give him a better status quo, even if they're not writing a book about him.
No.
I just kind of feel bad for the guy.
Well, that's what happens with your favorite characters from the 90s.
He's not my favorite character.
No, I just mean top 5. In the Marvel universe, yeah.
No. There's way too many X-Men that go before him.
X-Men are all in one category.
That's not one category. I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I don't believe that. But, you know, like, at least Robbie, you know, he's somewhere, like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, when I think about Danny, I'm like, even if we're not getting stories about either of them, like, I'm like, Danny, that's...
Yeah.
I'm sorry, man.
I know.
I'm sorry. So
we need to give you, like, 6 months off of life. So we can just lock you in the library.
Me?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Because because I know because there's a series that you need to read.
Yeah, I'll just leave my job and be like,
and I'm gonna read
for leaving.
Just take a hiatus.
There is no hiatus. There is no hiatus. But yeah, like I really just feel like I need someone to go and like reset all the writers status quos and just do like I don't know, give me a 3-issue mini, or 2-issue
for each rider.
No, just put them together. Just do one thing, and it's like, here's where they all
are. They did that in Secret Wars. Remember Ghost Riders? That was a book.
I know, but I mean, for right now,
but it was lame, and they just
what their continuity.
I know.
Just leave them.
I completely agree. Rumor has it that there is like an official Midnight Suns office opening at Marvel. And when I say that, I mean, like, you know, they don't. Okay, so they have the families of books where it's like, oh, you're the X-Men group editor, you're the Spider group editor, and like there might be like a Midnight Suns group coming up, where it's like all the magic Marvel characters.
No,
so it's
absolutely.
like, great. Well, then as you're whoever's in charge of that group, friggin' fix the writers.
I'm sure it'll be Jed McKay, but he's only going to focus on Doctor Strange,
and naturally,
Clea, and Moon Knight,
right.
and that's fine.
No, that's fine. But like, yeah, no.
But like, I feel like they're definitely going to forget some of the other writers.
Yeah.
They'll just be like, what? Because like,
you didn't even talk about Alejandra.
I didn't. But it feels like they really, really want to get Johnny Blaze working.
You're never gonna get him working.
like we got to get him working. And I'm like,
you couldn't get Danny working when he first was launched. The only thing that you got working with Danny was you made Johnny look like him. That was the only thing you got working. Yeah. Was every pop culture version of Johnny is actually just a drawing of Danny with his name on it.
And I'm not even saying like they need to have their continuity cleaned up. Like I really just would like them to be like, this is what they're doing and this is where they are. Because like right now Danny is in a weird flux where he's a totally different spirit in him, and he just keeps getting that crap kicked out of him, and like he's just a plot device. He's just been a plot device.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for
they're
him.
banking on you remembering him but not caring about him.
And Robbie's just forgotten over in the corner.
Yeah, which is a shame. Well, and you know what? Look, they gave Robbie a shot. They gave him a push. They pushed Robbie. They made him like the premier guy. They even gave you a mystery. What is he? How did he get his power? All that stuff. And then, like, you know, it burned out. Now, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that there was going to be a Ghost Rider show starring Robbie, and it died, and Marvel lost interest.
Yeah.
That and the fact that Robbie was the Ghost Rider of the friggin' MCU during Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which we watched a lot of.
Oh, yeah. No, we really did. I do sometimes feel like, as much as like I appreciate the fact that like let's do something different with Robbie and give him the car. I think the car
was the problem.
Holds him back.
That's exactly right.
I think it holds him back.
I think if you gave him a cool chopper, I think he'd be different. I think people would be singing a different tune.
I feel like he would have just longer staying power. That said, I'm sure they've done this before, but like, you know, I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna call on a name that I'm not a huge fan of right now.
We're gonna get Howard Mackie.
No, we need to get Zeb Wells.
Yeah.
Get him off of SpiderMan.
Oh, yeah.
And let's put him on a book.
Right.
That has, like, I was just thinking, because I was like, all right, I don't know how to fix, like, Robbie right now, right? But we got to get, well, at least.
You're like, look, let's
also remember that Robbie
as group editor of the Ghost Rider book or family, I'll get him working. I promise. I'll put Psy on it, and it'll be great.
We'll get him working, right? But, like, let's, instead of worrying about making a Midnight Suns, like, world, which we can, then that's fine, right? But, like, let's do, like, a second string style Avengers with people like friggin' Danny Ketch, and like pick one of the other spiders, like I don't care. Kane, throw Kane on there, and like just pull all these like second stringers that like nobody really wants to deal with and are presumed to be losers,
right?
And give him to Zeb Wells, and let him write a book.
So give him a Hellions book.
Give him Hellions, but not Marvel or not X-Men themed.
Right? Exactly. No, you call it like you call it Hellblazers.
No, we're not calling it that.
I mean, Wolverine is a book that they're actually making now.
Yeah, I know, but you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah.
I would read the hell out of that, especially if you know if it's not going to be a forever book.
No, exactly. Yeah, you're going to get 8 issues tops out of that book.
8 to 12.
Yeah. Well, you know what you do? You just go. It's going to be 12, and you're just going to have to eat the cost. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because we're doing some house cleaning.
But trust me, what we're doing here is that we're going to make it up in the trades.
Yes. Look, I know the contractor bags are expensive, but they hold a lot of trash, and we need them for this kind of demo job. I completely agree. Anyway. Yeah, this is why Tiffany needs the job.
I don't need that job.
I read SpiderMan, but who cares? The book is just like, it's so broken. Todd Knock drew it. This is from last week. Amazing Spider-Man number 47.
Like 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, from 2 weeks ago. Chasm's back. He's got Halloween with him, and they're like, "Hey, Spider-Man, we're gonna get you." And I'm just like,
"Isn't Hallows Eve?"
It is. Who cares? And it's just like, I can't even imagine giving a crap. I can't believe it. I was just like, it's not even a review. I'm just saying, like, I was reading it and I read it, and I'm like, yeah, this wasn't bad. It was, the characters are consistent, and I'm just like, but like all the interest is just drained out of my heart. Like I was reading it because there were words in front of me. It wasn't that I didn't care about anything that happened to these characters. There was no tension. There was no concern. I was just like, yeah, it's just happening. It was like looking at it. It was like watching golf. It's just like, this is just who could care? Who could be brought to care?
Oh, okay.
But I did read Action 1064 and Superman number whatever 13. This is great. The House of Brainiac began while we were away. And it's awesome. It's fun. Rafa Sandoval did the art. Joshua Williamson wrote it. And it's just bringing in the Superman family. Brainiac comes back and he's kidnapped the Superman family. He's like, I've learned everything. which is a laughable concept in and of itself. He literally, Brainiac's like, I've learned everything. I know it all. And it's like, oh, cool. So you're like a comic fan. But he's like, yeah, I learned everything. And I've learned that I basically need superpowers. Like, so he's like, he kidnaps anyone from Metropolis with superpowers, leaves Steel behind because, you know, like poor Steel. And he just grabs everybody with powers and he puts them in a bubble. And Supergirl's like, F you, Brainiac. Like, I hate you. You took my city and you made it small and, you know, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, he's like, he's gonna unlock the mystery of powers. I think that seems to be the implication. It's like, now I'm going to learn the deal with superpowers. And I'm like, all right, that's a fun pitch. I mean, like, you know, we did that in Invasion, but all right, I'm in. You know, and I like the idea of Brainiac having a new mission. And then you find out that, like, he's one of many, like, he's Brainiac Prime. And, like, there's the freaking, the Errol Flynn Brainiac from, like, Post-Crisis where he's got the goatee and mustache. He's like, woohoo! They're all there. Like, all the Brainiacs.
Like 3 Jokers?
Yeah, except more like 20 Brainiacs or something like that. And, of course, we're going to make a female Brainiac for the Absolute Power event. But for now, you know, to distract Superman and stuff, he unleashes...
With the female Brainiac?
No, that's coming up later. Instead, he, like... We talked about this before, and I don't know if we actually talked about it because, like, I don't remember if we talked about this on the show because I've known about this for over a year. But the city of Lobo was unleashed on Metropolis. This concept of, like, oh, yeah, no, like, there was a city of douchebags just like Lobo, and Brainiac took it and shrunk it and put it in his menagerie long ago.
Why would he do that?
Well, because it's, like, the same reason he does it for every other planet. He's just like, well, he went to Zarnia, and he's like, I'll take that one. And he's like, this is weird.
But aren't they not? Isn't Lobo like a not
like he's an aberration?
Yeah, that's the word.
Yeah, no, he was an outlier against the rest of the planet, but there was a city of people just like.
But that's not then Brainiac took not a true sample.
Right? No, he didn't.
He took the worst sample.
He didn't know. He's just like, that's what you.
Well, then he doesn't know anything.
No, he's right.
How could he say that he knows everything?
Yeah, but I love him throwing like a city of Lobo at Metropolis and all these jerk Lobos being like, yeah, and then Superman has to track down real Lobo and get him, and so he and Lobo go on a quest to go deal with Brainiac, and it's like this is like the most relatable and human Lobo's been in forever. Like, Lobo is just like, whoa, like Superman shows up and just beats the shit out of Lobo, and he doesn't even Lobo's like, oh my god. Because, you know, Superman's family's been taken from him. The children have been taken. And he's like, you know,
I can't
like,
wait
oh my God.
for you to share this with Ethan.
It's great.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Ethan loves Lobo. And what's better than Lobo but a city of Lobos? But it's fun and it's you know, it's cool. The art is spectacular. There's this beautiful, like, double page splash of the Lobos descending on Metropolis along with, like, Brainiac
They're
robots.
not all called Lobo.
No, they're Zarnians. They all have names. I'm calling them Lobo because that's like what everyone understands what I'm saying. But yeah, it's cool. It's fun. And Superman and Lobo like both get, because there's also this like cockamamie, like the United Federation of Planets or whatever the hell, put a quarantine on Earth so that nobody can leave. And I'm like, oh, I hate these like dumbass status quos where it's like, oh yeah, remember that time when like when no one was allowed to leave Earth? Whatever. So they have to sneak past, and like, so Superman and Lobo have to ride motorcycles to do it, and they have like space hogs, and I'm like,
see, and if Robbie had one of those,
right, he'd be more mobile. But yeah, it's fun, it's cool, and you know, the concept of like Brainiac kind of like playing for keeps and unleashing shit you never seen, but like it's familiar enough where you're like kind of on board. I'm like, yeah, it's cool. It's a really cool book. It's really fun, and Superman like gets to be like, you know, a badass, which I know everybody loves for some reason.
I read what did I read this week? I read Fall House of X number 4 this week. I like this book a lot. Of course, I like Rise of the Power 10 a little bit more, but this was
this is Jethro Morales.
This is Jerry Duggan with art by Lucas Warnick and Jethro Morales. You got to get both of them, sir.
Of course, cool.
Say one or the other.
All right.
Anyway, this is the issue that if everybody was worried about Apocalypse and what he doing or what he not doing, because I remember a lot of feedback when Apocalypse was going the route he was going in Ten of Swords. You know, with his relationship with Genesis, people didn't necessarily care for what they perceived as weakness from him. Yeah. Right. And I was like, don't you worry. That's not weakness. And he'd be back.
Right.
And guess what?
He is.
He is back. And in this, I love this because he's like, all right, folks, we're back. And we got to like fix Krakoa, the island, like the being which was being sustained by us.
Right.
You know?
Was that established?
Yeah, it was like feeding. Yes,
that was feeding off of mutants.
Like a little bit. That was like the payment.
Right.
It's like a. If you pay attention to Krakoa overall, you realize that everything was like poetic in a sense.
Yes.
Right. You know, like we were talking about how like, you know, they were creating these mutant circuits, right? You know, and like really a fastball special is a mutant circuit,
right?
Where it's like two things, right? Well, Krakoa is completing its own circuit, right? Where it's just like I'm providing literally everything for you, and you are keeping me alive.
Yeah, I got you.
And so Apocalypse is like, okay, so like we need to sustain it.
We need to feed it mutants.
Yeah, and I'll give it some of my blood, and then like we're gonna need some volunteers.
Now, are they going to give up their whole lives in order to get it back to normal, or are they just like...
some of them just like...
you got to live there, and you got to use its toilets and eat our friggin' vending machines.
He's a being. He's the man. He's
right, he's a man now.
Yeah, and so they're trying to save him, right? And like, I love this moment because like, essentially, like, you know, some like a mutant from Araco arrives, and he's like, I'm Kintar Arakibor, and like... I saw the towers fall and defeated a host of demons. Like, I'm proud and I'm looking for a good ending, right?
Yeah.
And Apocalypse brings back the Crucible. That's why I thought it was so funny you mentioned the Crucible.
Yeah, right? Oh my God.
Like, he makes it happen there. And so he's like, you won't just die. I will grant
feed you to the plant.
Yeah, I will grant you like a warrior's death.
Yeah. Cool.
We were reminded A, of the Crucible, if you'd forgotten about that, and B, about Wrong Slide. Remember Wrong Slide? The mutant who died, it was Rock Slide. He died over.
Yes. Yeah, Wrong Slide.
Yeah, and then he came back and he was wrong.
Yeah.
And so he volunteers.
He's like, I never fit in. They never had a good story for me. I'm just...
No, he's like, he had a lot, but that was the point. The point of him was like, he's like, I'm not meant to be here.
Right.
And he's like, if you ever see the other guy, like tell him it's like, you know, I'm glad that he can be back or whatever, right? But like, I just love it. I'm like, Apocalypse is back to, we're starting to come back to what people are used to him being, right? Which is like, essentially it's him taking control. He's leading once again, and he has what he believes is the right pathway.
Right.
You know what I mean? Meanwhile, while Apocalypse is doing that, Cyclops was getting the ever-loving everything kicked out of him by Nimrod, because, you know, that's what be happening. But Magic steps in just as Nimrod aims to kill him, and he's just like, Nimrod's upset about this because that means his perfection is marred.
Yes.
Like I was meant to get him. But Nimrod is disturbed because Omega Sentinel is like, hey, there's someone here who wants to talk to you. It's Xavier.
Right. Oh no.
So Xavier's pitch is that he's like, listen, like, we might have gotten off on the wrong side here.
Listen, I saw Matrix, and remember the Matrix 3? Is that what we're getting?
We're getting that, but not really. Like, I think what we're getting is Xavier knows what pieces need to fall into place for there to be a victory.
Right.
I'm thinking it more like Doctor Strange looking at the many like futures in the MCU and being like, this is what we have to do, even though it seems like garbage.
And it sucks. Like, we're gonna lose Iron Man, but everyone else is gonna make it.
It's what it feels like he's doing, because he's definitely aligning things to be like one of the powers of 10 futures. Remember the future with Nimrod, and they were like all the mutants were in like a sanctuary. Yeah. And like being kept. Yeah. That's what Xavier pitches, essentially.
Oh my God.
And I'm like,
that sucks, man.
I think he's putting tumblers into place in a way. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not 100% on that, but it feels like he's setting something up for dominoes to fall a specific way. Yeah. Which Cyclops realizes what's going on, and he is furious.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like, he is like furious.
Yeah,
They're
he's
having,
like,
a mind conversation, and like Xavier's like, I need you to like trust me here.
It's like, why would I do that?
Right. He's like, right. So I assume that what might be happening, you know, Cyclops uses the red triangle technique to keep him out of his mind. And then it's like, all right, we got to go, and we got to go stop Sentinel City. Emma, you have to stay here. And I love this moment for Emma so much, because Emma's like, I'm so tired of like handsy men telling me what to do. Like, I've had enough of that. Yeah. But he's like, you have to stay here. He's like, because someone might have to fight Xavier, and it has to be you then. So she used to stay there, and she's like, I don't want to lose anybody else. Like, I think she like wanted to go off with them, because if they died, at least she would die with them. Yes. And I was like, that is so like sad, and like what a great like coming like around for her arc. Seriously. You know what I mean? Just in general, of being like, you know, like, oh yeah, I'm in it for myself or whatever, to like being in charge of all this as it was crumbling to being here now. I'm like, I love it. I love that for her. So much. But yeah, like essentially mutants like pop in on Nimrod and the Omega Sentinel, and they get their butts kicked. Like Colossus is there, and Rogue and Gambit and all of them. Like all your favorites are there.
Yeah.
And that's when Omega Sentinel is like, oh, there's like a storm coming this way, or like nearby, and Nimrod's like, we're by the sun. Obviously there's, going to be something like that.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, it's coming from Earth. And it's just this amazing image of Storm, like coming. I'm thrilled.
Totally.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Because if she's coming, I think we know who's with her.
Magneto. Yeah. It's gonna be awesome.
So we'll see. I'm thrilled. Absolutely thrilled with this. This is like this book overall, Fall of House of X, is much more action packed. It's much more about like what everyone's seeing, basically. Like this is the war that is like more public, even if some of it isn't happening in front of everyone. Whereas Rise of the Powers of 10 is much more of this like kind of secret war that is going on, like these secret moves, these secret missions. If you're just reading Fall of the House of X, you're like, Xavier's a jerk. And if you're reading Rise of the Powers of 10, you're like, Xavier's a jerk, but I think he has reasons.
Right. But I see where he's going with this.
Right.
So or at least where he's coming from.
Yeah. These two I feel like are like a little more reliant on one another than like House and Powers were when it first came out. House and Powers, you could get away with just reading House.
Yes.
You could technically.
Yeah.
You're going to miss out on a lot of like cool inside other things. And like now you'd be like hurting on some of these like references that they're making.
Yeah.
But these two definitely seem to go hand in hand.
Totally.
Really like this book. Good stuff. 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
How many more do you have?
So many.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep. Bear Farmer says, barring Spider-Man, what's your favorite Marvel Ultimate Universe series? I think I like Fantastic Four. Ultimatum really ruined everything for me. There isn't one. It's Spider-Man. He also says, got called into work this morning, and on the way, I listened to the ComicPop Ultimates episode, and I wondered if you'd ever do part 2. Maybe, probably at some point, someday. The Fodderbox Kid, hi guys. I wanted to pop in and say I finished reading Berserk 14 volumes of it. Now I'm jumping into 90s Mask Omnibus.
Nice.
Good for you. The Cat Lord of Vent Retreats, kind of ironic. First X-Men were getting killed and then characters being killed for X-Men. Also Amazing Spider-Man books feels like a medium for corporate synergy. So absurd. It's their biggest book and it's their flagship title. It sells without any marketing whatsoever. So like, yeah, if you needed to get people to like subscribe to the new Marvel YouTube channel, you'd put a friggin' ad in Amazing Spider-Man. Like it's just what they use. Ray Farr, hope you two are well. Thank you very much. Hope you are as well. I love the idea of DC having its own Ultimate Universe free of continuity. Let's see how long it gets until it gets bogged down. Only 100 characters, 150 characters. ComicPop woo.
Well, thank you so much,
man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, the nature of interconnected universes is that they're going to get continuity, and I'm sick of hearing that it's bogged down. It's not bogged down. It's just like you're just going to get more universe. You're just going to get more story. Doc, thank you for your generosity. He says, currently in the year 1982 of X-Men, and I'm enjoying every issue. I just wish they'd stop calling it a school when Kitty Pryde is the only teenager. Also, why is her code name Sprite? They were trying stuff. Kitty, Sprite.
She's had a lot.
She's had a couple.
Yeah. She's had a few. You're right. Not a lot.
Tevia, how do you feel Spider Goblin is happening again? I haven't seen anything about it yet. I've only seen that they said they're going to do it, and I saw a cover. It's just like, who could care? I read a book most recently. I said I read it, and it was just like it was like I was reading French. It was just like I don't know what I'm looking at anymore. Denial. I don't know what it says about the state of Spider-Man that both Miles and his clone are getting better treatment than Peter and his clone. Agreed. Yeah. Even Peter's clones get no respect. Andre F. Hey, Sal and Tiffany. Hope you guys are enjoying X-Men 97. Got time to share your thoughts on episode 5 and 6. I think Storm's the adversary's voiceover continues to be amazing.
Voice actor.
Yeah, I think we should talk about X-Men at the end. We'll wait, but yes,
we should.
Yes.
I agree. Voice actor wise.
Oh yeah, well it is Storm, right? Storm is playing the adversary.
Yeah, that's
so
what they're
awesome.
They're doing an incredible job.
They are, yeah.
Such a good job.
Rayfar returns. I was elated and saddened to find out Sal's going to be at C2E2. Elated because ComicPop has taken on the Windy City. Saddened to realize I didn't buy tickets. Have a deep dish on me, Sal, aka a swimming pool for rats. Thank you so much, Ray. Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for that. Z-Berm, love that you guys did Superman Infinite City, one of the most criminally underrated Superman books. Hope you guys do more Superman in the future. Definitely. I mean, we're always going to do Superman. It's just a question of like when and how much. Rami Darwish, I'll give it to Jeff Johns keeping Ghost Machine a secret. And by the way, I feel that Flashpoint is DC's Age of Apocalypse. Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair assessment. Certainly, they're the interconnected universes, like all the things that happen in Flashpoint. Yeah. Rayfar returns. I'll always be spiteful for the fact that Jeff pushed out Wally. Also, that I have to Google how to spell Jeff every time he comes up. Yeah, it's all second nature for me up here now. I did read Batman Superman World's Finest number 26 from, of course, Mark Waid and Dan Mora. This is awesome. It's wonderful. This is a dope, fun, silly series. Yeah, you know how like there's a fourth dimensional imp for Batman, Batmite. Yeah, there's more. And the idea is that, like, you know, the DC universe kind of influences these imps. And so there's Green Arrow, like, you know, Might and Lex Might and Joker Might and a bunch of other stuff. And they're like teaming up with their counterparts. But
so wait, is there then also a Superman Might?
That's Mixie.
Yeah, but why isn't he called Might then?
Because he doesn't love Superman. He wants to destroy Superman. So anyway, they, you know, the art's fantastic and fun. But Tiffany heard me like reading this book like as it was happening, and it was just like just a delight. It's just a delightful book.
There was legitimate like laughter.
Yeah, this is it's just a fun series. It's so great and so cool, and just a joy to read. And you know, there's a moment where you know, they're like dealing with fourth dimensional imps, and Mixie's like, "All right, I got it. Who needs powers?" And Batman's like, "Don't be ridiculous." And Dick's just like, "Me." He's like, "All right, boom, you're Super Robin now," and he's got Superman powers. And you know, and it's like, why wouldn't he keep them forever? But it's a flashback book, and it's like, you know, he tries to look someplace far away, and it overwhelms his senses. And then suddenly he remembers that he has enhanced senses, so he hears everything, and he's just like, and has to lose powers. It's just like, it's smart. It's cool. It's really, and it looks great. You know, it's just a really fun book. Just a great looking book, and fun to boot. Worth buying. World's finest.
Oh, that says "uh-oh" on the cover.
I know.
Uh-oh.
Anyway, what about you, Tiffy? What are you reading?
I read John Constantine, Dead in America, number 4. I was like, is it 4 already?
Yeah.
This is now getting 11.
Yeah.
Everybody. This got extended. It was supposed to be 8. It's now 11.
Yeah. How great.
I've never been more delighted. I love this cover so much. This feels like Aaron Campbell has entered into his Steve Dillon era.
Oh my God. I got Preacher vibes from this big
100%.
time.
Like, this is such Preacher vibes. And that's what's so interesting about this, because like reading this issue, which is a phenomenal issue, this and the last issue you could almost read on your own, like on its own,
right? Like as a book.
I mean, listen, you're gonna miss out on some like, who is this character and why is she talking so much?
Yeah,
but the overall message of that book is phenomenal, and this just kind of like continues it, right? I feel like the last series that Spurrier did really focused a lot on obviously England and you know, British Isles over there and what they're going through, and like, you know, what might be going on within their country, things that we Americans may not fully grasp.
Yes,
right?
Totally.
And this has definitely been more of an examination of what's been going on in America, and like, you know, some of what we're going on through Brit's eyes.
Yes.
Right? And I really appreciate that. For sure. It was really nice though to have the other book to have like that connection, to be like, oh, okay, a lot of these issues are everywhere, but they're different. Right. And then this has been like a lot of like, whew, okay, gotcha. And this issue in particular finally started to coalesce for me, like why I think I like Spurrier's work so much, because he's definitely his own thing, right? He is his own writer. He's his own like style. Yeah. But he definitely makes me think of Neil Gaiman, but with a very like darker Garth Ennis touch. And I don't mean like the like nutty Garth Ennis doesn't like superheroes. I just mean like just with like a darker edge to it, where it's not grimdark, and it's not like intentionally violent or gory on purpose. It's just not quite the like Neil Gaiman that is talking about fairy tales and just that. Like Neil has his own darkness, totally, but like this Spurrier is like lives in that area and then does his own thing from there. And I think that is why I love it so much. Like I think there's just something about that I'm like, this is what I want all the time, and I have it in Spurrier. Like that's what he brings to the table, and I think that's what people are experiencing when they read his Flash. Is that's what he brings to the table sometimes, and I love that. I love living in that world, but I understand that not everybody does.
So here's my question.
Yeah.
Is Jesse in this book?
No, but
I've been waiting for them to bring back anyone from Preacher.
Yeah, no,
because this is like a Vertigo thing too. Like this is a love letter to Vertigo.
This is totally a love letter to Vertigo, but it's much more obviously connected to Sandman and Swamp Thing, which is fair because John was invented in a Swamp Thing book, and he was in the first volume of Sandman, so it all makes sense. And in fact, that's where like the first volume of Sandman, that one specific issue, is where this whole like adventure that John is on right now stems from. It's a connection of that, and you have to understand what happened at the end, but you really don't. Like all you need to know is that Dream changed. But if you've read that one issue in which like Morpheus goes to John to get his bag of Dream Sand back, the point is that he has it, and he's like, you opened it, you acted like you did, but I know you did. I know you did. Sand that's missing, right? And so we have to go track it down, right? That's really what we're doing here, and it's a brilliant bracket to have this story in, because this story at the core of it is about John coming to the realization of something that he doesn't want to deal with. He's got a lot going on, and I really don't want to ruin it for anyone because it's like really important that you just go on this part of the adventure on your own and not have me just tell you that specific part about it.
Yeah.
But like, so John is dealing with a couple of things, and it's set against, just some things that are going on in the world right now. And, because he's John, he uses that to his advantage at times. And like these past few issues have just been a perfect distillation of everything I think about when I think about John Constantine.
Right.
Is that like he is a bastard, but he's a bastard for the right reasons often. Like he can't help himself, but he's always going to take that route. He's always going to go the route of being like an asshole about something, right? And we see that in here, but it ends up being for the right reasons, even if maybe he doesn't go about it in the right way. Like in this one in particular, his solution, like most heroes would not be okay
monstrous.
with it. But like he is like what he does is, I don't know, there is like a justice to it. And I leave it to you to decide if you think it's the right type of justice. I can give you a little bit about like this, because again, like we have like John's main story and then like these little tiny stories. And this little tiny story is about like, there's a spirit here, right? And we are still trying to track down this other thing, but Swamp Thing can't get over what's happening in the town nearby in order to track down, because Swamp Thing's a little messed up. So he needs to be fixed. And so like they need to kind of get this out of the way. And so he goes there, and they're like, in this town, it's like this small, seemingly sort of more southern region town where there's clearly some sort of secret there. Something has happened, and there's a restless spirit. And it involves a whole bunch of high schoolers. It's like 6 or so high schoolers and one girl. And inevitably what ended up happening to that girl, and that fact that like she is restless for specific reasons, right? And how John handles it is absolutely incredible. He ends up with, I have like the one grain of like the sand, and he uses it in order to give everyone that night like a 1 hour dream of what it was like to be her.
Right. Awesome.
And then he just leaves it.
That's very Morpheus.
And so you see with like Morpheus pissed.
Oh yeah, that he used it.
Well, Daniel shows up and he's like, I didn't say you could do that. He's like, you didn't say I couldn't.
Right. Yeah. We've been.
He literally like just, and then they leave the town, and he's just like, I'll leave them to decide what their families will do. Right. And like how you can see all like 6 of their lives and like what ended up happening. Like,
cool.
And it's like they're like, that is John.
That's awesome.
That's John. John's like, I did the right thing, but I definitely did it the wrong way. Like I could have just tried to go to the authorities. But no, I'm doing it this way.
Exactly.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Got what I needed, and now I'm out.
Yeah. Awesome.
So
sweet. Love
this book. Aaron Campbell is, every time I see his work, I think he can't get better. And then every time he does. He is like easily one of my favorite artists for this style of book. Like obviously if you want to get into Hellblazer, go back, read Delano's stuff, read Ennis's stuff. Even if you're not an Ennis fan, trust me, read his stuff there. It hits different. He has a different take on John in particular. And it's going to be a John that you're probably used to if you have any sort of cultural like knowledge of him. You're going to get it from Ennis's work. Read anyone else you want, but then definitely read the Spurrier stuff. Especially this run. This run, it hits different even than the last one. This one hits more like the second half of his last. So I don't know if it's just he was at a little bit of an angrier place post what happened.
Could be.
But I am here for this, and I am so thrilled that we're getting more of it. Anyway, sorry. That was like
that's great.
Way too long talking about how much I love Hellblazer.
Well, let's see here. I got a chance to read Black Panther, Ultimate Black Panther #3 from Brian Hill and Stefano Caselli. This is great. It's an awesome story. It's an awesome book. The art's fantastic. Basically, T'Challa's taken with Killmonger to a secret place. That's what happens. The whole book.
Yeah.
They also run in, and Storm's there. And Storm is Killmonger's wife. So it's or at least she's with Killmonger.
Right.
It's cool. It's their portrayals are great. The designs are awesome. It's cool.
I do want to point out that there is like, since we have like Ultimate Black Panther and we have Ultimate X-Men, and they both seemingly like, you have like a storm, and it's a storm that we could more recognize. And in Ultimate X-Men, there seems to be a storm because they have like weather-based powers. Different name. Yeah. Different like person name.
Right.
Like,
not Aurora.
Not Aurora at all. So just take that as it, like, I know a lot of people are like, how could these characters ever come together? And it's like, because they're just going to say she's different.
This is
something different.
Batman Off-World from Jason Aaron and Doug
this.
Mankey. This is such a great book.
Isn't it frustrating
so
how
fun.
good this is?
I love this book.
Like,
Just make an animated movie out of this, please. But also, like,
yes.
make this the template for Jason Aaron's inevitable takeover of the Batman title one day.
Right.
Like, where he's like, because this is year 2. This is taking place during year 2 of Batman's career.
This is I didn't remember that being thing.
No, this is the book that says that.
Okay, thank you. Because this book was just like, oh, by the way, he's been wearing the cowl for a year and he went to space.
And then he went to space.
He's really upset with himself.
Oh yeah,
and
no, I
I
imagine Gotham being torn apart by Two-Face and Gordon turning the signal on every night, waiting for
and that is happening.
That is happening too. And he's like, ah.
That
like,
is
this
happening,
is so great.
but like he can't help himself. He has to like stay there. He has to do this.
Yeah, he's got to take down these different like gangs.
I also love that because like once you establish, because that comes a little bit later in the book that this is like year 2 for him.
Right.
Once you establish that, I'm like, oh, okay. So like when like Ion or INA is like hitting on him, he's just like, what?
He doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
But he's not, it's not like stoic Batman where he's like, no. This is more of like, no, I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
Wait, what? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never really gotten down in the costume before. I don't really know what to do in this situation. It's great. It looks awesome. It's dope, cool, fun. They introduced what was it? The Thanagarian. It was just like a friggin' disgraced Hawkman for hire. And he's there to like take down Batman on behalf of like this like syndicate of siblings that are creepy and weird and Cenobite and fun. It's
here's the thing. If you have ever been turned off by Saga, if you thought Saga was too much for you, you might like this. If you had any sort of interest in it at all, but you thought like, you know what?
If you want a PG version of Saga with no sex in it, then here you go.
Like, I was thinking about like the Thanagarian, so that reminds you of like the Stalk and the Will, right? And there's like weird, like, all sorts of crazy rules out there a little bit.
Yeah.
It gives me that. But
no,
it's not at all Saga.
No.
But like it's like
but it's off killed. It's silly. It's bonkers. It's space. It's new characters which look ridiculous.
And it's Batman being like ridiculous because he's new to this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, like he can lose, he can fail. He's not
but he's militant, but like it makes sense for him to be that because he's new to his whole thing. He hasn't had his like, making friends or changing, his like.
He's not even. This is pre-Justice League Batman.
Yeah. So it's like this is a Batman who's just like I have to defend everyone. It's just me.
Exactly. Wonder Woman #8 from Tom King and Daniel Sampere. Obviously, the art is off the freaking chain. This book is insane. Wonder Woman has been taken to the Sovereign using the lasso of lies. She's forced to endure a nightmare vision or lie of being a domestic housewife for Steve Trevor, which like a 50s kind of like
it's like the
Americana version of herself.
It's like the Black Mercy, but like
right, but
the opposite.
Yeah, but it doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you think you what people think you want.
Yeah,
what people want you to want.
Yeah,
and it's just she fights against it, and her truth comes out, and her mom comes to save her in her mind, and it's cool. It's just a fun book.
Yeah,
I mean, really, it's mostly a lot of talking.
It is. I love it, and the art's gorgeous.
Oh my god, yeah,
so gorgeous.
Also, tonally, completely the opposite of what issue 7 was. Like, it's just you don't need issue 7 in order to understand anything that's happening in these. But like, more of the same. It's cool. It's fun. It's a good book. I love the concept, and I'm down. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing like what Wendy does with the Sovereign.
Totes.
Avengers Twilight #5, Chip Zdarsky, Daniel Acuna. This is a cool book. It's a lot of fun. Continues to be what it is, what it's promised. The Avengers are fighting back. Red Skulltron has revealed himself, and that's right. Red Skull and Ultron have fused.
Is that what they're calling him?
That's what I'm calling him.
Oh, I was like, that's so good.
And and
it is. I know.
Yeah, no, the Avengers are like scrambled, and Captain America's fighting him. We're getting the feel like, okay, we're wrapping up. Like it's we're almost done with this book. Is what the like tone is of the series, right? Of this issue in particular. And teasing the idea, will Cap die? Maybe, who knows? It's cool. Female Hawkeye, she's fun. It's a good book. It's fun. the art's good. Nothing to write home about, but it's still good. It's fun. It's an easy skip, but also, I think you'd be sad if you did, because it's a fun little Dark Knight Strikes Again version of the Avengers. That's what it is. And but like all the good parts of it, which is saying a lot. But yeah. And Spider-Man #2 from Greg Weisman and Humberto Ramos is a good series, a lot of fun.
It's the Spectacular Spider-Man.
That's what I sort of said, but Spectacular Spider-Man, Pete and Miles. dealing with the Warren clones and dealing with Vermin and introducing them to those characters. And
I really like Ramos on Spider-Man.
me too.
I really do.
It's very, very divisive. He's as divisive as John Romita Jr., but
I'm
like
sure.
he is a definitive Spider-Man artist. Like he is a Spider-Man artist.
Well, in particular, I like him for Miles because he gives him that
Youthful quality
appearance.
to him.
Yeah,
Definitely. No, but it's fun. You know, it's cute, fun, cool. Continues to be a good series that has that like tone that you want out of a Spider-Man book. Peter, it's the best book portraying Peter that isn't in another universe. It's certainly the best 616 Peter you'll see easily. Definitely worth buying.
Hey, you were gonna take this from me?
No, I wasn't.
Letting you have this. Hey, I don't know if you heard, because we weren't here last week to tell you all about it, but Helen of Windhorn #2 came out.
Helen of Windhorn?
Yeah, Helen of Windhorn #2 came out last week. It's written by Tom King. It's got art by Bill Evely.
Yep.
I don't know if you heard about it.
I have not heard of Helen of Windhorn from Dark Horse Comics.
Yeah, #2.
#2, Helen of Windhorn.
Came out.
Tom King.
Bill Evely.
I
think that's how you say her name.
I've heard it multiple times.
I've heard it so many different ways.
In different ways.
I'm just gonna keep saying it different ways.
Yeah.
But Helen of Windhorn #2 came out, and frickin' man,
I haven't had a chance to read it.
Really?
Yeah, I had to skip it to get.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah, I had to read Avengers Twilight.
It's so good. I'm not gonna ruin it for you then.
Good.
Man, like, you know, like I know it's easy to make comparisons with this to Supergirl.
Oh yeah, well it's the same creative team. They were like, let's do Supergirl again.
And again, it also, like, for some reason I always think Strange Adventures 2.
Yes.
I think because of its connection to John Carter.
Right,
in a way.
exactly.
So it's like, I got all these like things. It's its own thing. It's so incredible. Art is top notch.
Yeah.
We get definitely a bit more of not only what is up with the Windhorn in general.
Yes.
Not too much. We're still in a mystery here, but like how the story is being conveyed to us and why it's being conveyed to us.
Yes.
And through that lens. So we're getting, unlike with Supergirl, where it's like we waited till the end to kind of find out what was happening.
Yeah.
This is kind of, we're gonna weave a little bit more of that in here as to what is going on and you know, who is telling us the story.
Sure.
You know, like it is Lilith who's like words that we're hearing, but how and why, and we get more of that in that. And I really appreciate it instead of just finding out at the end, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of just incredible art. I don't know how to describe this book other than like it's something else, and I'm here for it.
Totally.
I need more of it.
Yeah, well, there's gonna be a little more.
I just need more of this art.
Yeah.
I love the credits pages in the last page just showing just Bilky's like incredible line art.
Yeah.
Where's that art book? Where's that art book?
I know. Probably at a convention.
To me.
Whatever country she's in. Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading it. I love it. Did you see Valerio Schiti's tweet?
No.
It was him finishing issue 8 and him saying bye win.
I'm so mad about that.
So before we get into the recommendations, let's continue this.
I mean, I can't have it all. I got 11 on Hellblazer. And
you got 11 Hellblazers. You got 8 issues of Gods when Marvel had no business making any of it.
Mad.
Wilbert Robinson says, maybe Scott is trying to give you guys the wink and the nod or trying to sneak y'all in the back door. Also, has Joshua Williamson got you to watch any wrestling yet? 2 out of 3 wrestlers in comic book properties did a great job. No, he's not. No, he doesn't. He knows better than to push it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Scott. I don't think Scott's doing anything for us, except for being a friendly guy. But thank you, Wilbert. Drew Markham. Hey guys, hope you're having a good Monday and having a great week. If Gunn and DC just want to use Mora's art for the visual direction, I'll be happy.
Right?
Yeah, I'd take Mora as the art director for that,
they got a
universe.
guy.
Yeah. Dex Baker. I started going to a comic book club recently. This month we read Sex Criminals 9 years after Tiffany's recommendation. Do you have any thoughts on the next book, Wonder Woman True Amazon? No, I've never read True Amazon.
Well, it's coming out.
It's their next book.
It's their next book. Oh, I understand. I apologize.
Yeah.
I really parsed that sentence to be completely incorrect.
Yeah, we do have this book.
We do have this book. We absolutely do.
Yeah, I
picked it up.
Yeah, it was like a buck at Books
like
a Million. It was like the cheapest version of what
I love that you're in a comic book club.
Me too.
Is it an in-person one?
I hope so.
I love that.
Dante Cook. Hey, ComicPop family. After Tiffany talks about the D&D Jumanji style plot of Doctor Strange, I picked up both issues and loved it. Not a Doctor Strange fan, but I had so much fun.
Yay! I'm so glad.
That's
oh
nice.
my gosh.
That's the ComicPop guarantee.
Thanks for all the love, guys.
Right? He also says, Sal, I missed picking up Helena Windhorn #2.
It's because we weren't here to tell you
I
about
know.
it.
My local comic book store says the distributors are all sold out. In your experience or opinion, do you think they will sell a reprint of #2? Has Dark Horse ever done so? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I have a feeling that
Dark
they
Horse
will,
knows.
So keep an eye out for it.
Yes.
For certain.
Yeah, tell your retailer, when they do a reprint, give me #2. CJ Stevenson, if Absolute Comics is true, who are some of the pairings that you would like to see between creators and characters? I'd love to see Wonder Woman get a proper treatment. Kelly DeConnick, maybe? Yeah, I mean, like, Wonder Woman's a really tough nut to crack. I would never have given her to Tom, and I think Tom's doing an amazing job, even though it's like I don't really find Wonder Woman like relatable. Like, like she's very much on a pedestal, which Tom has admitted he's put her on when he did that run. I don't know.
If I may,
yeah.
I don't have an actual name, but I want to throw this out there that, like, if they are doing something like this, I would hope that they were going to do something more like what we're seeing in Absolute or Ultimate X-Men right now, where it's something you've never seen.
Some radical.
And so for that to happen, you have to get someone, I'm not saying Peach Momoko, but like someone like Peach Momoko who comes to the table and just
from an outside perspective.
I know you can't go too wild because I don't have people respond to that.
Yeah.
But it would be sort of cool to see, because like, what's the point of doing it if you're not going to take some wider swings?
Yeah.
You already have some of these books going. I don't know.
You know who I'd give it to?
Who?
Just because they're in my mind.
Who?
Ramon Perez from the artist currently on The Flash and the artist on Tales of Sand. He worked on this insane webcomic, Kookaburra. That'd be something where it's like, what the crap is this?
Right.
This is insane.
Yeah.
But that's my pick.
Okay.
Boris Fraser says, what if Donald Duck was Wolverine is happening? I heard. I couldn't care less. I don't care about those kinds of ideas. RK says, me absolutely delusional that my favorite will appear in a new universe despite his convoluted origins. Oh boy, Superboy is going to show up. Yeah, I think so. Girk Pectus, I got a job as a 3rd grade art teacher after school. Honestly, thank you for this community's Discord, Artist Alley, for keeping me motivated. Well, I'm glad to hear it, man.
I love that.
That's fantastic. Congratulations to you. And yeah, that's a lesson to you guys. If you want to join the Discord, there is a link to invite you to the Discord. It's free. It's available. There's a million different communities in that group. In the comments down, or in the description below. So go check that out if you are amenable.
How about Kieran Gillen on Wonder Woman?
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. I mean, that's if you want to get like an epic Wonder Woman.
I'm just thinking, like, I feel like he could maybe take it outside the box.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
I know he has, like, for me, because I do love Wonder Woman tied in with mythology. Yeah. And I'm like, he bring that right to the table.
Yeah. Kieran, I mean, like, look, I mean, if you're really gonna go for, I mean, like Kieran Gillen on Wonder Woman, Cy Spurrier on Green Lantern, and Al Ewing on Green Lantern. No, he said pairings.
Oh,
from the Ultimate Universe.
I was like hellbent on it being about Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
No, yeah, Kieran Gillen on Wonder Woman, Al Ewing on Green Lantern, and Cy Spurrier on an ultimate version of these characters. I mean, like, not Superman, but yeah, interesting. I'm trying to think of like a fun character that would be. I mean, Cy would do like a dark version of like a fun like Green Arrow, or you know what I'd do? It'd be like one of those really weird off kill. The Question.
Yeah, he could do The Question. Give him the Authority.
The Authority. I mean, just put him on the Authority.
They're gonna show up.
Honestly, no, don't even worry about the Ultimate Universe. Just bring back the book, The Authority, and put Cy on it. That's what you should do. Revolutionary Dragon, the Storm and Ultimate X-Men May Storm is like a Spider-Gwen situation. Started out as a variant cover and now as an official character. I didn't know that. I couldn't. I don't know.
I believe it.
Makes sense. King T. Akeem, longtime viewer, 5th time super chatter, Helen of Windhorn.
Helen of Windhorn.
I
don't know if you've heard about Helen of Windhorn. Number 2.
This is a Jeff Johns finger grunts kind of situation with Helen of Windhorn. But yeah, from there, we want to recommend some comics that come out this week that we think you should check out.
Hell yeah. Helen of Windhorn.
Helen of Windhorn. Oh, no, but before we do that, what's the book of the week? You got a friggin' Sophie's Choice, don't you? Is it going to be Helen of Windhorn, or is it going to be Constantine?
What's yours?
That's an excellent question. It's tough, man, because Nightwing was a joy. World's Finest was so much fun. I loved Superman and just watching him team up with Lobo. Off-World was so cool. I think I'm gonna have to give it yeah, I'm gonna give it to Batman Superman World's Finest number 26. It was just a joy. I had a great time reading it, and I was just delighted the whole way through.
Can I just have 2?
No, you may not.
Okay.
No, that wouldn't be making a choice.
I know. I don't want to make a choice. I like them both a lot.
Yeah.
It's got to be Hellblazer. It's got to be Hellblazer number 4.
Yeah.
So I really want to give it to Helen of Windhorn number 2 because I love it. But it has to be Hellblazer.
That's fair.
Number 4 for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. This week, Ultimate Spider-Man number 4. Hooray! Woo! More Ultimate Spider-Man. And is this time
Hellblazer of Windhorn.
Hellblazer Windhorn.
There we go. I win.
Green Arrow number 11. It's a great series. I hope you're reading it. Phil Hester's back on art, doing a little bit of this work. Superior Spider-Man number 6. I'm gonna read it. It's been fun. I've been reading it.
I will read it.
I will read it. I've been reading it. It's kind of fun. The Penguin number 9. This is an amazing book. It's so stupid how good this book is. I'm annoyed. And Batman Dark Age is also great. Mike Allred and Mark Russell. Great series. Weird, off-kilter, like Elseworlds type book. Just bizarre. Just such a weird book.
Strange AF.
Strange and fun. Definitely worth reading.
That's Sal's quote. You put it on the back. I dare you. I dare you.
Yeah. Put us on the back of any book. I'll take it. Come on. What's the matter with all of you?
It'll just be this.
Yep.
We'll be like, oh man, we did not mean that.
A big fart. ComicPop.
No.
Yeah, that seems on brand.
I don't like that for us.
I know.
I don't want that for. Oh, there's too many books this week. Everybody.
I know. Darth Maul, Black, White, and Red. Are you kidding me? Hell yeah.
Okay.
Jackpot and Black Cat. Can't wait.
Okay, sir. I don't need your garbage as I attempt to find the books that I want to talk about for this week, which I now have for the most part.
Oh, good.
I'm done. Wolverine number 48 is coming out this week. Means we have it's this issue and then 2 more.
Yep, and then Wolverine's over. Never more, and then they're going to kill him off.
Yeah, they're never going to do anything with Wolverine ever again.
Hey, remember when he had hot claws?
Victor Lavelle and Ben Percy on this with art by Corey Smith. Yeah.
More of this. Sabretooth War.
Freaking Gods number 7. It's the penultimate issue, written by Jonathan Hickman, art by Valeria Skeety. Let's go. Flash number 8. Cy Spurrier, art by Ramon Perez.
Yep.
I like this book. I'm sorry.
I know. You are the only one reading this book.
I love this book. Let's go.
Like, thanks. Cheers.
Some
Yanks reading me Flash. Thanks a lot.
Rise of the Powers of 10 coming out this week. Rise of the Powers of 10 number 4, written by Kieran Gillen with art by R.B. Silva. Looks so good.
Yep.
So good stuff. But hey, if it wasn't all, if you wanted more Kieran Gillen,
I know you do.
Pick up. I do. X-Men Forever number 2, written by Kieran Gillen with art by Luca Maresca.
See.
Freaking yes. I forgot this book was coming out.
Jube's on the cover. Awesome. Thanks, Jubilee. Way to be here.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And then I also want to give a shout out to a distillery. Distillery book coming out this week called Spectrograph. Freaking this cover.
Gorgeous.
Can we just talk? I would love to just be able to show this to you.
Well, maybe we will.
I could figure it out. I don't think it's very large, but I did it anyway.
Yeah, no, it isn't very large at all, actually. Thanks a lot. But that's not your fault. That's their fault.
Look at this cover.
Wow.
That looks so good.
Oh, James Tynion IV and Christian Ward. Who'd have thought?
Okay, everybody. Listen, I have a type of book I like.
Yes, this is true.
Leave me alone.
Yeah. But since this episode hasn't quite been 2 hours, let's talk about X-Men 97, baby.
Okay.
So the last 2 episodes. The reason to talk about it is really for the Remember It episode. Spoilers for X-Men 97. We're not going to get into it too much. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds. But there were 2 episodes that came out that we haven't talked about. There's actually been most of the episodes. We talked about the first episode and that was it. But there's a couple episodes that came out that we haven't talked about. The most recent ones were, of course, Remember It, episode 5.
And
Life, Death, Part 2. We watched Remember It on my tiny phone with split headphones on a plane, and it still brought tears to our eyes.
It destroyed us. I was destroyed.
Doesn't surprise me in the least the reaction people got and the fact that it comes out weekly that Kevin Feige said out loud, perhaps this should be in the MCU. this version of the X-Men. And I'm like, how about more like this is how you're supposed to present your superheroes?
Yeah, that's probably
this is how the MCU should be presented.
Yeah.
You want to make a show? Knock off your crappy Moon Knights and your your nonsense Marvel spotlights. And just make shows like this.
I can't with this. Remember, it was too much for me. I'm sorry.
Incredible.
I still can't get over it. I don't think I have processed it.
Just outrageous how good how crazy. The animation was top notch. The voice acting was again fantastic, and the plot twist, which honestly, I mean, like they knew when they got to Tenoshi, you were like, this is Krakoa.
Oh my god,
we were just doing Krakoa,
and they had like a gala. I was like, which gala are we doing?
Right, and then it was like, oh no, yeah, the last one.
Oh, let's not do that one.
Yeah.
That's the bad one.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not do that one.
Mm-hmm. That was awesome. And it was like, that's really cool. Because, of course, like, Genosha also blew up.
Sure.
Thanks to Sentinels. And, like, but
I really didn't know where that it was going, that whole episode. And then at the end, when the title of the episode comes up, I was like, I hate you so much. Yeah. I was so mad.
Classic reference, by the way, to like the first appearance of Gambit. Because Gambit says, my name's the name's Gambit, remember it.
Yeah. I'm not really upset. I'm not really mad at them.
No, I'm mad at the characters that did the things that made me mad. I'm delighted by the storytellers for presenting a great, cool story.
Yeah. It's like when an actor plays a great villain.
Yeah, and it's like don't yell at the guy who played Walter Peck. He didn't deserve that. He's just great at being a jerk. Life Death Part 2, however, was another insane issue or episode where I was like, yes, like we're in space, we're dealing with the Shi'ar. You were like, is that the Kree? Boom, it was. And unapologetically. That's the thing that like that's what people are excited about when they were like, oh, the MCU is gonna be interconnected, it's gonna be part of the Marvel universe. You know, we're just like an unapologetic, oh, we're just gonna boop, there's the Watcher, boop, there's the Kree, boop, there's the Phoenix. Like, oh,
that was my most like
in Remember It,
so proud of what? Oh, go ahead.
In Remember It, you were like, did you see the Watcher?
Yeah.
I had to look at it like 5 times because we were looking at it like this big, but eventually I was like,
I'm like, no, it's right there.
What? Apparently they did talk about it. They didn't have to sneak it in, but they did ask, and there's no conversation about whether it's Jeffrey Wright or not. It doesn't matter. The point
that was my like. I was so proud of myself.
Yeah.
Like first time there, I was like,
so cool, like so cool. But but with Life Death, we're in Shi'ar space. We're dealing with Deathbird, and Deathbird is just, just such a bee in such a great way, like Buckhawk, just strutting around. It was amazing. Like just like that's the kind of petty nonsense. That's what these space jerks do. Is they show up and they're like, oh, my sister's getting married. Well, not in my watch, bitch. Just, that's X-Men. That's Space X-Men. That's Space Marvel. And it's like, yeah. And then we got that plus the continuation of the Forge and Storm Life Death story and the Adversary. Awesome voice acting. Awesome. Great work.
Incredible voice acting.
Yep.
So good.
So great. Yeah. Cool, fun, awesome, and it's
just too much. It's an emotional roller coaster, and I can't handle it. Well, here's what I'm afraid of, okay? Because yes, Disney, Marvel, learn from this.
Yeah.
But don't learn the wrong lesson, because here's what I'm afraid the lesson they're going to learn is they're like, nostalgia sells. And I'm like, no.
Right. Spider-Man 97 coming up next.
Which is fine, but like good storytelling sells. That's why people are reacting to it, because you're doing a good job with it. You're doing what like a lot of people like fell in love with it originally was the fact that it felt more adult.
Yeah.
Like you're telling more adult stories with your animation. That's why people like it. It's not just because, ooh, nostalgic glasses go on.
Yeah, no.
I feel good.
Yeah.
I don't know what voice that was. But
derisive.
Yeah. It felt weird.
Yeah, that's fair. Good. It's a good sign.
I didn't like it.
No.
But
yeah,
like absolutely take all the right lessons from this.
I agree.
All the right lessons from this.
Yeah. And we saw the first episode of Fallout. How'd you like it?
Oh, I enjoyed what I saw of it, but I was really tired. And I fell asleep at the end. And that was not the fault of the show.
No.
But it was the fault of me.
Yeah.
I was here's a formula for Tiffany to go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I am warm, I am fed, and it's like dark in there.
Yeah.
It's over for me.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to say it's over for me. Yeah. Fallout's a game series I always wished I could have gotten into, but the fact is like I don't do well in an open world environment.
Too many choices.
I get choice paralysis.
Yeah.
I know that about myself. I
Mhm.
just don't do well in that environment.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoyed this.
I also enjoyed this. I was surprised by how much I enjoyed it. I was like, this is really well made.
We can keep watching it. I just might need to recap the
to watch the last
like,
10 minutes of the episode. But like, yeah, I dug it. I was like, this is good. And it like feels authentic because I'm familiar with the Fallout universe, but I'm not I was not a big player of it. I played a little bit of the same when you did, where I also fell off it. The use of Kyle MacLachlan, I'm like, bravo. Walton Goggins has grown on me as an actor ever since Hateful Eight, so I'm like, yeah, all right, he's fine. Like, and he's good in this. Like, everybody's great in this. There's no weak points really, and I'm a fan. I'm a fan of this show. I will say that like I was impressed by the level of production value, quality, cinematography, acting, sound design, and I was like, man, I wish that we could make movies like this again. Like, like, because I know that on the strength of Fallout, they'll probably finally make a BioShock show. And I feel like wouldn't it have been cooler to get like a 125-minute long BioShock movie?
They do it before the fall of the city. Like, would you play through in the DLC? That would be fine.
Yes, like a pre-fall of Rapture.
Or they won't do Rapture, and they'll be like, we'll do the Sky one, because there's always a man. There's always
there's always a tower.
There's always
a man. There's always a city. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, but I'd rather just do Rapture.
Even Infinite knew that. When you go back,
like, even the DLC is going to be in Rapture, because we all know you just want to go back there, and I'm like, I hate that place.
Damn right. But yeah, but I think it's funny. Like, I think a BioShock, when they were pitching, when like Gore Verbinski was going to make a BioShock movie, and we could all know it could have probably used a lot more gore
and a lot less Verbinski.
But no, it's you were worried, but like.
I was, because it's such a, you know what it is though, it's like a personal, for me, whenever you have like a video game movie, like I always struggle with, especially when it's been personal. Obviously in like BioShock, without me ruining anything, like there are some very key moments that every person will experience regardless of how you play your game.
Yes.
But so much of like what you choose, your plasmids, your choice of weaponry, like it's all a very personal choice. And so like whatever you get, like in terms of like taking that game and making it into a movie, is never going to be your journey. It's always going to be someone else's journey, right? And so you don't have that same connection.
Yeah.
But I guess with a show, at least if you go outside of the main story, it's easier to do that, because really just world building. You're just showing us more. I guess
I think BioShock lends itself to a show like Fallout.
Sure.
But I was kind of like, man, like you did the wrong thing. Like Halo, the movie, the story for the first Halo. That's a 120-minute movie, and you throw like $180 million at that movie, you got yourself a freaking dope ass movie. Especially if it's made by people who make movies or shows like Fallout or Mad Max Fury Road or something. It's like, oh, that'd be so cool. But like, no one has the stomach or time for a Halo show, because it's like there's not enough. There's not enough there.
Right.
You know, there's enough to make sequels, but there's not enough to make a show.
Right.
And when you find that out, you find you're filling it, like when they made like when they made more seasons of The Witcher, and you're like, no, that's because people didn't really care. Like they didn't care about what they were making.
Right.
There are books of that freaking universe, and they could have kept it going, but they were like, oh, I didn't really like it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, man, I don't know. I think Fallout did a great job. I was just like, but it made me think of like, man, so it's achievable is what you're saying. Like, you don't have to make it into like a Resident Evil movie where it's just kind of like weird.
Yeah.
Like you could do it.
Yeah.
But you only did it when it's a show. What the hell?
Do you know what's funny? Because we watched Fallout, I noticed that like a lot of like Fallout stuff has been like cropping up on various like YouTube and stuff like that. And I saw the Conan O'Brien
Must Go.
No, the bit where remember he's doing the video game stuff and he puts on the Fallout outfit, and I was like, he is like the inspiration for what Kyle MacLachlan is. I swear.
Yeah.
I swear. I was like,
oh my God. Yeah. We're also watching Conan O'Brien Must Go. It's an amazing series if you haven't already watched it. It's just Conan. It's just Conaning. So funny.
I just love watching like fun like shows like that, like where it's travel. Like I also like James May when he went to Japan.
Oh yeah.
That was a show I found.
Amazing.
Additionally, I'm also watching a new anime. Yeah, for me. It's nothing anybody else wants to watch. So that's fine. I'm not going to tell you what it is. It's Netflix and it's very girly.
It's hentai.
It's not. Let's just end the show.
Yeah. All right, folks. We want to thank you so much for being here. Thank you to our super chatters for sponsoring today's show. Thanks for the chat for being cool and respectful to everybody. Don't forget to join the Discord. Check us out on social medias. And, of course, check out Tiffany streaming twitch.tv/ComicPop and youtube.com at ComicPop Plays. And check us out there. See you at C2E2. And, of course, make sure to mark your calendars. May 3rd, Josh and I are going live 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday, May 3rd, to a massive live stream, 4 hours and who knows how much more, and special guests, some of whom are not confirmed. I have no idea who's going to be there. So it's going to be a surprise for all of us. But thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for your support, and we'll see you guys next time. A Secret Boss says, watching the stream in the middle of a cruise ship. What's your thoughts on X-Men 97? Can't use Cassandra because of Deadpool. I don't think it matters. It's fine. It worked the way it did. I'm happy with it. Yes, that's right. We didn't talk about the Deadpool trailer. Maybe next week. So long, everybody. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Bye. 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 Bye.
Bye.